New International Business English by Leo Jones and Richard Alexander. Students' book recordings. Published by Cambridge University Press. This recording is copyright. Cassette 1. Side 1. Unit 1. Face to face. 1.1. First impressions. Step B. You'll hear 10 people meeting or greeting someone. 1. Good evening, Mr. Green. How nice to see you again.
Good evening. It's nice to be back. How are you?
2.
Good morning, madam. Can I help you?
Yes, I've got an appointment with Mr. Henry Robinson.
3.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I'd like to see Mr. Ferguson, please.
4.
Hello, madam. Can I help at all?
Yes, I'd like to know what time.
5.
Good morning, sir. Do you have an appointment?
Yes, I've arranged to see Ms. Shapiro. I think I may be a bit early.
6.
Good morning, sir. Do you have an appointment?
Yes, I've arranged to see Ms. Shapiro. I think I may be a bit early.
7.
Good morning, Mr. Rossi. How are you today?
Just fine, thanks. Is Mr. Grady in yet?
I'll just find out for you.
8.
Hello, Miss MacDonald. I'm afraid Mrs. Sanderson isn't back from lunch yet.
Oh, that's okay. I'll sit and wait if that's all right.
Oh, certainly. Would you like some coffee?
That sounds a good idea. Thanks. 9.
Yes?
Good morning. My name's Martin. I'm here to see Mr. Suzuki.
Who?
Mr. Suzuki.
Oh, he's busy, I think.
Could you let him know I'm here, please?
Okay.
10.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name's Martin. I'm here to see Mr. Suzuki.
If you'll just take a seat, Mr. Martin, I'll let him know you're here.
Fine, thanks.
Mr. Suzuki, Mr. Martin's in reception for you. He's on his way down.
And that's the end of 1.1, Step B. Step D. You'll hear 3 conversations. 1.
Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'd just like to introduce myself. The name's Alex White, and I'm the new export sales coordinator.
Oh, yes, I've heard of you. How do you do? I'm Chris Gray.
Hello, Chris.
Pleased to meet you. Have you just arrived?
No, I got here, it was yesterday morning. But it's the first time I've been up to this floor. So, Chris, what do you do?
Well, I'm not very important, really. I'm Jenny Santini's assistant. She's head of personnel. Have you met her?
Oh, yeah, I was introduced to her yesterday. Actually, I'm looking for Jim Price's office. Am I on the right floor for that?
Well, no, actually, Mr. Price is on the 5th floor. If you take the lift over in the corner, you should get there.
2.
Miss Smith, I'd like you to meet Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones is from our sales office in Toronto.
Hi. How do you do, Mrs. Jones? I've been looking forward to meeting you.
Please call me Liz.
And I'm Claire. Hi. Well, Liz, did you have a good journy?
Yeah, not too bad. God, there was all this fog at Heathrow, though.
Oh, no. What happened?
Oh, my flight was diverted to Bournemouth, and then we had to go by bus from there to London, so I didn't get to my hotel till lunchtime. It was crazy.
3.
Mr. Evans, have you met Miss Lucas? She's from Argentina.
Yes, I think we've met before. It's good to see you again.
That's right. Hello again. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Must be, a couple of years since we last met?
Oh, even longer. 4 years ago, I think. In Miami, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes, that was an interesting conference. Would you both like some coffee?
Oh, yes, please. Black for me.
Oh, thanks a lot, Mr. Evans. White with sugar for me.
Right.
Miss Lucas, whereabouts do you come from in Argentina?
Well, I live in Buenos Aires, but I was raised in Mendoza.
Oh, that's in the north.
And that's the end of 1.1, Step D. 1.3. What do you enjoy about your work? Step A. You'll hear 4 people talking about their work.
My name's Ian McShane, and I'm the group accountant for Small Worldwide. I'm responsible for the day-to-day accounting for the group, covering financial management, management accounting, cash books, purchase ledger, sales ledger, credit control, and so on. Virtually every day you've got a different kind of job to tackle. It's always, without exception, urgent. I'm always up against deadlines, and therefore I'm never bored. I find the whole of finance fascinating anyway, and the whole exercise is very, very interesting. It's not very pleasant being difficult or having to be difficult with people to get money out of them, and I don't particularly like doing that.
My name's Leslie Trigg. At Small World, I work as an administrator for the International Business Development Group. My responsibilities are responding to correspondence, making sure that meetings are scheduled, the right rooms, at the right places. Also, I deal with organising people's travel in the company to various different countries throughout the world. The most important thing that I enjoy is actually the people that are here in Small World. And the people are very friendly, and I enjoy the work. I wish at times I was a little bit more busier. I have to wait for people to generate work for me, and as working within the International Business Development Group, most of the people are actually working within other countries, because they're going out into other countries to find partners that will assist Small World. And when they're out of the country, they're not generating the work for me back in the office. They generate the work when they're back in the office for me to deal with.
My name is Patrick Verdon. I deal with the systems administration for Small World. I think the best description of systems administration is that it's a troubleshooting kind of job. There are all kinds of responsibilities, such as backup of data, installation of new machines, installation of the operating system, and the installation of the product that Small World actually produces. It's quite a challenge because there's such a variety of problems. Sometimes it'll be a loose cable on a machine that's a problem, and other times it'll take hours to solve. I think the nice part of systems administration is the challenge. Sometimes it's very quiet, but on the other hand you can have a day when it's completely hectic and all kinds of different problems come up. So you're always being confronted with different problems, which is nice. The things I don't enjoy are the routine backups of all the data. These take a bit of time. The other thing that I don't quite like is the out-of-hours concept of systems administration, because the best time to actually fix problems is when people aren't working, which means that ideally we should do that after 6 when everybody's gone home. So yes, we can be here until the early hours of the morning at the extreme.
I'm Paul Lockwood, and I'm one of the training officers at Small World, and my job is to run and provide training courses for our customers and agents. The thing I enjoy most about my work is being able to have direct contact with customers and direct knowledge of the sort of problems they encounter and how to resolve them. The things I don't enjoy so much is that I feel that I tend to be spending a lot of time either teaching or preparing training material, and I don't get enough chance to do hands-on programming that I would like to do. I do have to have the skills of programming, but what I don't get the opportunity to do at the moment is to actually use them to develop real applications for customers. I'm just showing other people how to do it. Generally speaking, I enjoy my job. I enjoy the company that I work for. It's a very good environment, a very stimulating environment.
And that's the end of 1.3, Step A. (1.5) Developing relationships. Step A. You'll hear 5 short conversations between people who work in the same company. 1.
Tony, I'd like to see you for a minute. Would you come into the office?
Oh, yeah, right.
Good. Now,
How did you get on in Copenhagen?
Well, Carson had the flu, so I couldn't see him.
You couldn't see him?
No, so I had to see his assistant.
Yeah.
And, we got along quite well, but there are problems with... Crystal's got in before us.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, they were in last week.
Yeah.
So, they spent days there.
Yeah.
And it was all wrapped up, really, by the time I got there.
Is it a question of supply? Are we not...
Well, no, I mean, they didn't really look at the figures,
Uh-huh.
quite frankly, and I showed them the figures, and they weren't interested.
Yeah, they see, the trouble is that we've got an ongoing problem.
2.
Now, Barry and Susanna, have you got your worksheet in front of you? Fact sheet here? Okay, well, you can see here that Miss Henry is James Ferguson's personal assistant. I think that's pretty important to know. And Ted Douglas is the chief export clerk.
Oh, right.
Barry, you're going to be working with Susanna very closely here. And I think it's very important, Barry, that you get together with Susanna over there and try to work out the the letter filing system here. Now, as you can see, as you can see on your fact sheet here, we've got it marked urgent and non-urgent.
Yeah.
Anything essential, I'll take care of, okay?
3.
Okay, Martin, let's go through it again. You go to the airport.
Right.
Okay, Terminal 2.
Terminal 2.
Pick up Glenn Donaldson.
Glenn Donaldson.
Now, I want you to write this down.
Yeah, I've got it down.
Okay, he's arriving from Miami on the flight number LX432.
LX432.
Have you got that?
Yeah, I've got it.
Right, off you go. Get back here as soon as you can.
Yes, sir, Mr. Green.
Thank you.
4.
Jeff, could you just come over here a minute and have a look at this sketch?
Yeah, sure.
What do you think?
Yes, well, you put a lot of work into it. That's very good. I'm not too happy about this border around here.
No?
Maybe you could try another go at that.
I will. I'll try again. Okay.
5.
Mrs. Lang, could I have a word, please?
Oh, yes, Tony, of course.
I wondered if I might have next Friday off. My sister's arriving from Switzerland. I'd like to meet her at the airport.
Oh, Friday's rather difficult. What time does she arrive?
Well, the plane gets in at 4 p.m.
Oh, I know, Tony. Why don't you go off just after lunch? Then you'll manage to get to the airport on time to meet her at 4.
Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Lang.
And that's the end of 1.5, Step A. Step C. You'll hear 2 business associates meeting again after 6 months.
Mary, hello again. Do come in and sit down. How are you getting on?
Hello. I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Oh, very well, thanks. Did you have a good journey?
Well, I know. I'm lucky to be here this soon.
Yes. Right, let's get down to business, shall we?
Yes, all right.
Okay, first of all, if we could just look at...
Yes, right. Well, I think that's agreed then.
Yep, sure.
Oh, and now I really must be going.
Well, you sure you might have some coffee or something before you go?
Oh, no, thanks. I haven't really got time.
Okay, well, we'll see you again soon, I hope.
Yes, I'm glad we were able to meet.
Oh, so am I. I'll come downstairs with you.
Oh.
And that's the end of 1.5, Step C. Unit 2. Letters, faxes and memos. 2.1. Communicating in writing. Step B. You'll hear a conversation on the same subject as the memo.
Oh, Maria, I wanted to see you. Did I tell you that we're starting up the English classes again?
Oh, are you? Great. Good. Where?
In the training centre, hopefully. We're getting Mr. Roberts in again from ELS. So could you tell your people and let me have a list of names by, let's say Wednesday?
Yes. Last time there was a bit of misunderstanding about the books they needed. Who was going to pay for them?
Well, no problem this time. We'll provide the books. but they will have to do some homework outside work. Make sure they realise that.
Yes.
Or else there'll probably be some problems. There'll be 2 classes, by the way, an intermediate class and an advanced one. But there will be a limit in each of the classes of probably about 12.
Oh, really? A limit of 12? Ah. Well, what if there are more people wanting to come? I mean, I can think of at least 8 just in my department alone. How will you decide who can attend?
Good point. I think we'll have to play that one by ear, really.
Okay, well, how about running another class?
And that's the end of 2.1, Step B. (2.2) Names and addresses. Step B. You'll hear 4 addresses being dictated to you.
Mr. George James, that's Georgejames, Managing Director. Alan, that's ALAN, and James Limited. Quality House, 77 to 81 London Road, Bristol, BL5 9AR, Great Britain.
Ms. Alison Freeman, that's ALISONFREEMAN, Marketing Coordinator, United Packaging, Inc., 11 East Shore Drive, that's EAST SHORE Drive, Green Bay, that's GRENBAY, Wisconsin, that's WISCONSIN, WI 53405, USA.
Mr. R.G. Flinders, that's FLINDERS, Sales Manager, Independent Products Proprietary, 18 Canberra Way, that's CANBERRA Way, Liverpool, that's LIVERPOOL, NSW, 2170, Australia.
Miss J.V. Bernstein, that's BERNSTEIN, Candex, Convention Organizer, Candex, CANDEX, Convention Organizer, Dominion Center, that's DOMINION, CENTRE, 80 Prince of Wales Drive, Ottawa, OTTAWA, Ontario, KT5 1AQ, Canada.
And that's the end of 2.2, Step B. Step C. These are model readings of the addresses in the files.
Dr. Hamish Macpherson, that's HAMISH, MAC, capital P, HERSON. Rannoch Enterprises PLC, and that's RANNOCH, 45 to 55 Queen Street, Glasgow, GL1 8PG, Scotland.
Mr. Hugh O'Shea. Hugh is spelt H-U-G-H. O'Shea, O''S-H-E-A. Gloucester Products Limited. And Gloucester, G-L-O-U-C-E-S-T-E-R. 114 North Shields Road. That's S-H-I-E-L-D-S. Newcastle, NE5 47G, England.
Señora Maria Castillo Gomez. That's Castillo Ecuador Internacional S.A. Ecuador is ECUADOR, and Internacional is like international but with a C. Calle Naranjo, 50. CALLE NARANJO 46011, Valencia, Spain.
Mademoiselle Annick Dubois. That's ANNICK DUBOIS. Sebara, that's the name of the company. It's capitals with a full stop after each. SEBARA. And they're at 123 Rue de la Paix, RUEDELAPAIX, 5100 Reims, REIMS, France.
Mr. Hidetoshi Miyagi. That's HIDETOSHI, then MAYAGI. Crown Products Limited, 40-5 Chajiricho, that's CHAJIRI-CHO. Arashiyama, ARASHIYAMA. Nishikyo, NISHIKYO. Kyoto Shi, that's KYOTO-SHI, Japan.
Mrs. Lena Suominen, LEENA, then SUOMINNEN. Koivisto Kirja Kaupa, OY. That's 3 words. First one, KOIVISTO, then KIRJA, the last one, KAUPPA, followed by capital O, capital Y. Kirkokatu, all one word, KIRKKOKATU, 28, 20100 Turku, and that's spelt TURKU, Finland.
And that's the end of 2.2, Step C. 2.4. Thinking about your reader. Step B. You'll hear some business people saying how they prepare for writing a difficult letter or report.
Well, I use the back of an envelope or a beer mat.
Well, I usually sit back for a few moments and think about what I'm going to do, and, well, then I just start writing.
I write on a word processor. I don't make notes before starting.
I write an outline of the letter and then do a final draft.
Make notes on a large sheet of scrap paper.
Well, I just dictate it to my secretary and, well, I let her sort out the details.
I do it all on my computer. So it's easy. I start by putting down the main headings and then, well, start writing. I edit the document as I go along.
I sit for a few moments and then think about the person I'm writing to. Then I make notes before I actually start writing.
And that's the end of 2.4, Step B. Unit 3. On the phone. 3.1. I'd like to speak to... Step B. You'll hear Sylvia Perez trying to arrange an appointment with Dr. Henderson, who is the head of research at Richmond and Company Limited. She has to make 2 attempts.
Barnes & Jones and Company, can I help you?
Can I speak to Dr. Henderson, please?
Mr. Anderson, just one moment, I'll put you through.
Yes, Anderson Accounts.
Oh, hello, is that Dr. Bill Henderson?
What? No, this is Peter Anderson. You've got the wrong extension. You probably want Dr. Henderson in R&D. That's, 657. All right, 657.
Oh, well, can you connect me back through the switchboard, please?
Oh, well, I'll try.
Hello?
Barnes & Jones and Company, can I help you?
Yes, I'd like to speak to Dr. Bill Henderson, please.
Dr. Henderson, putting you through.
657.
Hello?
Oh, hello.
Is that Dr. Henderson?
No.
Oh, I'm trying to get hold of Dr. Bill Henderson.
Oh, you want Bill. I'll just see if I can find him. Just a moment.
Thank you.
Henderson?
Oh, good. Good afternoon. This is Sylvia Perez. I'm calling you from France.
Sylvia who?
Perez. P-E-R-E-Z. We met last month in Berlin at the trade fair. You expressed an interest in our laboratory measuring equipment.
Oh, yes.
Well, the thing is, I'm going to be in your area next month, and I thought I might like to call in and see you. I'd like to discuss the applications you might have for our equipment.
Ah, I see. What's this about again?
Your inquiry about our laboratory measuring equipment. Didn't you get the literature that I sent you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was very interesting.
Well, the thing is it okay if I come and see you during my visit next month?
I see. Yeah, all right.
Now, what about the morning of Tuesday, the 10th of April? Is that okay? Say at about 11?
I'll just see if I can find my diary. Yes, here we are. April the 11th at 10 o'clock, you said?
That's right. Now, is that okay? Is that convenient for you?
The next day might be better, just after lunch for preference.
Right, so that's the Wednesday. And in fact, that'll suit me fine. That's great. Now, shall we say 2:15?
Certainly, yes. 2:50. That's fine.
Oh, and by the way, I'll be bringing our agent Don Reese with me, if that's okay with you.
Oh, certainly. Oh, what was your name again?
Sylvia Perez. P-E-R-E-Z.
Fine. I'll see you in April, then. You know how to get to our lab, don't you? Goodbye, then, Miss Perix.
Goodbye, Dr. Henderson. And, actually, it's Mrs. Oh, and I'll write to confirm the arrangements, just to make quite sure we've got everything absolutely right.
And that's the end of 3.1 Step B. Step C. Imagine that you are the person trying to get in touch with Dr. Henderson and reply to the voices on the phone. 1.
A 32543.
2.
Co, good morning.
3. Four.
Hello?
5.
33543.
6.
'Sales department.
7.
'Lines from Birmingham are engaged. Please try later.
8.
Richmond and Company. Good afternoon.
9.
Dr. Henderson's office.
10.
Hello? This is Bill Henderson. You wanted me to get in touch.
And that's the end of 3.1, Step C. Step D. Listen to these phone conversations, which show the phrases in the student's book being used.
Hello, I'd like to speak to Mr. Watson.
Oh, I'm afraid he's still at lunch. Is there anything I can do for you?
No, it's all right. I'll call again later today. Thanks very much for your help.
Oh, hello. This is Alison Johnson. I'm calling from Cardiff.
Hello, Miss Johnson.
Is Mr. Watson available, please?
Hold on a moment, please. I'll just find out if he's available. Hello, I'm afraid he's in a meeting. Is there anything I can do for you?
No. Could you ask him to call me back, please? My number is...
Hello. I'd like to speak to Mr. Watson.
I'm afraid he's not available just now. Is there anything I can do for you?
Could you give him a message, please?
Yeah, certainly.
Hello. I'd like to speak to Mr. Watson.
I'll put you through to Mr. Thompson, his assistant.
Thanks.
Hello, Mr. Watson's office. James Thompson speaking.
Is Mr. Watson available, please? My name's Anne Richardson.
I'm afraid he's not in the office at the moment.
Oh, what time do you expect him back?
Not until after lunch.
Oh, dear. I need to speak to him rather urgently.
Right, I'll ask him to call you back as soon as he's free, Miss Richardson.
Hello, I'd like to speak to Mr. Watson.
Speaking.
Oh, hello, Mr. Watson. This is Anthony Buck from,
And that's the end of 3.1, Step D. 3.2. Getting people to do things. Step B. You'll hear 3 conversations. First of all, requesting.
Hello?
Hello, Terry. Are you very busy just now?
Not really, no.
Do you think you could help me with a couple of things?
Sure.
Well, first of all, you know the German report?
Yes?
Well, could you send a copy of it off to Frankfurt for me?
Okay, do you want me to fax it or send it by mail?
Oh, fax, I think. Now, let's see. Oh, then would you mind arranging accommodation for Mr. Bergland? He needs it for Friday night.
Friday night, sure. Hotel Continental as usual?
That's right. Oh, then could you get in touch with Sandy in New York after lunch and ask her to call me tomorrow?
I'll be over at the factory this afternoon. I won't be able to do that.
Oh, well, never mind. Another thing I'd like you to do is translate the technical documents into English.
Jane, I'm sorry, but I can't. I've got this report to finish by 11 o'clock, and it's just not possible.
Oh, well, look, at least could you just check my spelling and punctuation in the sales literature if I bring it over to you?
But my spelling is terrible. I'll ask Annette to do it.
All right.
Now listen to the second conversation, offering to help.
Morning, Sally. Will you be in this afternoon?
Oh, hello, Bill. No, I've got to catch the 3 o'clock plane instead of the evening one.
Oh, goodness. Well, would you like a hand with some things you've got to do?
Oh, that would be great if you're sure it's no trouble.
No trouble at all. Would you like me to check today's correspondence?
Oh, yes, that's very kind of you. Look, if you do that, can you sign the letters for me as well, please?
Yep, of course. No problem. And then, shall I call you a taxi to the airport?
Yes, please. Now, let me think. I'll need to leave straight after lunch, so, oh, well, no, better make it 1:30. That'll be safe.
Okay, 1:30. And, would you like me to do anything about your hotel booking?
Oh, heavens, yes, I'm glad you reminded me. I'm sure it's all right, but would you mind phoning them just to confirm the booking?
Of course, no problem. And shall I deal with the weekly report?
No, thanks. I think I can manage to finish that now. It's nearly ready.
Sure. Oh, I know. Would you like me to call Amsterdam for you?
Oh, that's very kind of you. No. Let me think. No, I think I'd prefer to do that myself, because there are some people I've really got to talk to.
Okay, I understand. Well, if you need any more help, just let me know, okay?
Oh, terrific. Thanks, I will.
Now here's the third conversation, asking permission.
Do you mind if I open the window? It's kind of stuffy in here.
Well, I'm afraid we can't open the window because if we do open the window, the air conditioning doesn't work.
Oh, right. No, it's always that way.
Well,
is it okay if I take off my jacket then?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Make yourself at home.
Oh, right. That's better. Do you mind if I smoke? I notice nobody's smoking around here.
I'm sorry, but this is a non-smoking zone.
Uh-huh.
We took a vote. And
Yeah,
that's
no,
how it came out.
that's okay. I'm trying to quit anyway. I figured it was something like that.
Good.
Right, okay. By the way, may I use your phone to book a table for lunch?
Yeah, sure. You know somewhere good?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I'll do that as soon as we finish this. Also, before we go, is it all right if I call my office to see if there are any messages for me?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, good. I'll do that as soon as just a few more lines here. Okay, do you think I can get a photocopy of this leaflet done?
Of course, yes. Well, I'll get Tim to do it for you. Tim?
Right. Great. And also, can I send a fax of these proposals to our branch in Canada?
I'm sorry, but the fax machine is broken down. We're waiting for somebody to fix it.
Oh, that's okay. No, there's one next door, isn't there?
I don't know. I think so.
Yeah, I saw one.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Right.
And that's the end of 3.2, Step B. Step C. You'll hear a phone conversation. It's a model for the conversations you're going to have with a partner.
Hello, Utopia Products. Jenny Butler speaking. How can I help you?
Good morning. This is Tony Green of Europrint speaking. Could you confirm that you've received our samples?
Ah, yes, the samples. No, I'm afraid they haven't arrived yet.
Well, we sent them to you by airmail on February the 6th.
Well, we haven't received them, so maybe they've got lost in the post. Would you mind sending us a second set by courier? You see, we do need them rather urgently.
Yes. All right. I'll see to it right away.
And that's the end of 3.2, Step C. (3.3) Can I take a message? Step A. You'll hear a phone call.
Hello, this is Hans Braun. That's B-R-A-U-N. I'm supposed to be meeting Mrs. Robinson on Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. The problem is that I won't be able to make it, but I can meet her on Wednesday at 9:30, if that's all right. Could you call me back to confirm if this is all right, please? My number is 651-31473. Thanks. Bye.
And that's the end of 3.3, Step A. Step B. You'll hear 3 phone calls. 1.
Remarco, bonjour.
Hello, it's Peter Schultz here. Could I speak to Monsieur Fevrier, please?
Oh, just a moment. I'll see if he's in. I'll put you through. Hello, Monsieur Fevrier's office.
Could I speak to Monsieur Fevrier, please?
Oh, I'm very sorry. He's out at lunch. Can I help you at all?
Could you ask him to call me today, please? Preferably before 4 p.m. or, any time tomorrow. It's to do with the arrangements for the for the Congress in July.
Yes, who's calling, please?
This is Mr. Schultz, Peter Schultz.
Peter Schultz. And can I take your number, please?
Yes, it's 01-456-9924.
So that's 01-456-9924.
Yes.
Peter Schultz. Okay, Mr. Schultz, I'll get Monsieur Fevrier to call you as soon as he comes back to the office.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
2.
Green and Harding, good morning.
Oh, good morning. This is Paola Andreace calling from Rome. I'd like to speak to Mr. Guy Dobson, please.
Oh, certainly, ma'am. I'll connect you immediately.
Hello? Oh, is that Guy Dobson?
No,
Is that Paula?
Yes.
Oh, hi, this is Bob Swenson.
Oh, hi. Is Guy around?
Just a minute, I'll check. No, he doesn't seem to be. He should be back any minute. Can I help you?
Yeah, look, can I leave a message with you?
Yeah, sure.
It's urgent. There's been a mix-up about the labelling of product number 15437B. That's the one for the Italian market. And I'd like him to get in touch so that it can be cleared up.
Okay.
He can reach me at this number till tomorrow evening, okay? It's 002 558 9847.
Okay, he can reach you at this number till tomorrow evening. 002-558-9847.
That's right, great. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, bye-bye.
3.
Hello, Santos Trading.
Oh, hello. This is Mr. Wong here, calling from Singapore.
Yes, Mr. Wong. Who do you want to speak to?
I'd like to speak to Mrs. Cox, please.
Fine, putting you through.
Hello, can I help you?
Oh, hello. This is Mr. Wong calling from Singapore. May I speak to Mrs. Cox, please?
Oh, I'm afraid Mrs. Cox is away. She has the flu, and she may not be back in the office till Monday. I expect her assistant, Mr. Box, can help. I'll just see if he's in his office. Hold on a moment, please. Hello, Mr. Wong?
Yes?
I'm very sorry. He's out just now. Can I take a message for him?
Oh, yes, please. Will you tell him I won't be arriving in Melbourne until quite late this Saturday at 1 a.m. local time? And will Mrs. Cox still be able to meet me?
Right.
And also inform the Royal Hotel that I'll be arriving very, very late.
Sure.
Wonderful. Thanks. Could you please telex or phone me to confirm that this is possible?
Right, I'll take the message. I'll give it to Mr. Box, and I'm sure he'll be in touch with you. Thank you very much, Mr. Wong.
Thank you.
And that's the end of 3.3 Step B. Step C. You'll hear some orders being placed, but each caller is talking quickly or unclearly. 1.
Could you please send us 300 kilos of white rice?
2.
It's very good value at the moment. The price is only 18 cents per kilo.
3.
We require 2 boxes of ripe bananas, please.
4.
The price per box is £115. Is that okay?
5.
So the total price is going to be 4,295 francs, all right?
6.
Our phone number is 456984 if you need to contact us.
7.
So I'd like to order 40 kilos at £14 per kilo.
8.
Our order number is JG404.
9.
Have you got that? 500 items are going to cost $900.
10.
And here's the item code. It's RAE77. Got that? RAE77.
And that's the end of 3.3 Step C. .4 Planning and making calls. Step A. You'll hear some business people saying how they prepare for an important telephone call.
Well, a couple of lines on the back of an envelope are enough.
No, if I make notes before a call, I can't adapt to the other person's reactions.
When I get someone else to phone for me if I have to speak in a foreign language.
If I don't make notes beforehand, I'll forget what I need to say.
I try to rehearse an important call in my head before I make it.
I make much more careful notes before a phone call than I do before writing a letter.
I find a minute or two spent making notes before the call is better, really, than wasting time during it, trying to think what to say.
I find it's a good idea to write down some of the phrases I want to use.
And that's the end of 3.4 Step A. Unit 4. Summaries, Notes, Reports. 4.1. Summarizing a conversation. Step B. You'll hear two people talking at a trade exhibition.
How do you do? My name is Bob Norman. I'm with Rotaflakes. Can I help you in any way?
Oh, hi. My name's Tim Brown. How you doing? Pleased to meet you.
I'm fine, thanks. And how about yourself?
Fine, thanks. I wanted to ask you about your rotary printer you have here.
Ah, yes. Now you mean our R75?
Yes, that's right, the R75. Now, what I'd like to know is, can it deal with high-quality embossed greeting cards? That's the sort of thing we're involved with.
Certainly. That's no problem at all.
Fine. Now, you see, we're looking for replacements for our 20-year-old machines.
Mm-hmm.
So we need the latest technology.
Right.
Now, if we were interested in making a firm order, how quickly could you deliver the machines?
Well, I can't give you a firm delivery date myself at this moment, but we can deliver pretty quickly.
My firm would be interested in 10 machines.
Yes? Oh, that's very good.
So I was wondering, could we get a 15% discount on an order that size?
Well, as you can see from our catalogue here, we normally offer 12% on orders of that kind.
Yeah, I read that. But your neighbours down the hall there, they're willing to give me 15%.
Well, of course, we'd be delighted to do business with you, Mr. Brown, and so I'd like to draw your attention to the latest laser-driven technology which the R75 contains.
Yes, very interesting, but the discount is important.
Look, if you'd like to wait just for a few minutes, I can get through to my head office and I'll inquire about any special arrangements which we might be able to make.
No, please don't bother about that just now. There's not that much of a hurry. I still have to report back to my board.
Yes, I understand that.
Look, here's my card. It'll be quite enough if you just drop me a line about things like the discount in the course of the next 2 weeks.
Yes, of course. Yes, very well, Mr. Brown. I'd be only too pleased to do all that for you. It's been very pleasant talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and here's my card as well.
And that's the end of 4.1, Step B. 4.4, Making Notes, Step B. You'll hear 3 conversations. 1.
It's about that order for Billingham's, John. Yeah. Their buyer rang to say they were willing to take 10 more sets of the 532 because, well, it's really been so effective in their new processing system. Yes, that's right. Yes, they've been able to cut their production time by nearly a third. Yes, it's good news, isn't it? Well, if you can get the stuff out and delivered by the end of the month, it could well mean that the division will get an increase in the monthly bonus. Yeah, well, I'm sure they'll all be glad to hear that.
2.
Hello there, this is Bob Billingham speaking. Yeah, I'm just calling to let you know about my time of arrival. Let's see, I'm coming in on flight CK532 next Thursday. Yeah, it gets in at, 17:10. Oh, yeah, that's good news, isn't it? Yeah, I was hoping to come on the 3rd of the month, but, I had to postpone my trip for nearly a month. We've had so many problems with that new processing system, you know what I mean? Yeah, anyway, I can tell you all about that next week, okay? No, your division is going to have to help us out there. Yeah, I'm afraid that's the case. Right, so, if you can be thinking about that.
3. But what we've got to do is find out what went wrong with the last payment. Now, I've been looking at the file for CKs, and it seems as though we were billing them for 2 batches of T140s last month instead of 1. Well, this may be how the misunderstanding arose. Well, yes, exactly. That could be how the 532 figure came up. Now, look, what I suggest is that we send them a new invoice with the batch next month and simply deduct the extra amount from the total.
And that's the end of 4.4, Step B. Step D.
Now then, I'd like to move on from taking notes of what happened in a meeting or at a lecture, and to making notes using the technique of pattern notes. In the first place, we usually make notes to prepare or plan some kind of writing, don't we? One of the ways one can do this is using what we call pattern notes. It's a kind of individual brainstorming session where you try to note down ideas as they occur to you, and you show the way that they connect up. So, one of the things you could probably do is to take a clean piece of paper and start with the topic you want to talk about, written large in the middle. Right in the middle of the sheet of paper. You can put a circle around this item if you like to. And then the different aspects of the topic will form your first set of branches. So when you've got your first set of branches, the ideas begin to emerge, to develop some of these further. And where you've got no ideas at all, there is a clear sign that certain aspects of the topic are either irrelevant or need to be thought about a little more. I suppose pattern notes are particularly useful because they're much quicker to produce than the conventional variety. And they allow your mind to focus on the ideas without worrying about the correctness of the language you use. So you can note down ideas about different aspects of the topic as they occur to you. And you can spot connections and contradictions, since everything is laid out on the one page. You can, of course, mark these with arrows and question marks, and there's no need to get into any complex arguments. Oh, and perhaps I ought to add that psychologists also believe that they reflect the way we think more closely than the kinds of organized notes that run neatly down the page, from the top to the bottom or from the left to the right. You don't normally think about single ideas in sequence. Rather, you deal in whole groups and clusters of ideas, all at the same time. Some of this is done consciously, and some of this is done unconsciously. And once you feel comfortable about doing these pattern notes, and some people do feel very uneasy about dealing with what they first feel is an unstructured approach, and I don't want to underestimate this aspect. Pattern notes shouldn't slow down your thinking as much as conventional note-making. I believe that such notes can also be very useful for recording a fast-moving discussion as the basis for minutes or a report to be written afterwards. So, they also do have their use as a note-taking technique. So, as discussion jumps from topic to topic, you don't have to keep, shuffling your notes from page to page to write extra points in.
And that's the end of 4.4, Step D. New International Business English by Leo Jones and Richard Alexander. Students' book recordings. Published by Cambridge University Press. This recording is copyright. Cassette 2. Side 1. Unit 5. Working together. 5.1. Getting to know the workplace. Step A. You'll hear a new employee being told where the different offices are in the firm he has just joined.
Margaret, I'd like to introduce you to Michael Hill from our Australian branch.
Hello, Michael. Pleased to meet you.
How do you do?
How's your first day going?
Oh, very well, thank you. It's all very interesting.
I was just telling Michael what the setup here is, who's where and what's what, so to speak. I was wondering if I could hand him over to you now.
Oh, yes, sure, fine. Would you like to come this way?
I'll see you later, Mrs. Bronson.
Yes, sure.
What was that room next door to reception? I heard a strange noise coming from it.
Oh, right, yes, that's where the photocopier is.
Oh, I see.
Yes, we've
That's
had
what
a
it
new
was.
one installed. It's very fast, but it makes even more noise than the old one, unfortunately. Right, let's go this way now.
Okay.
Opposite Mrs. Bronson's office, just here, is the General Manager's office.
General Manager, fine.
Yes, I expect he'll speak to you later.
Okay, yeah.
And if we go right down the corridor,
Yeah, okay.
on the right-hand side are the lifts,
Fine.
and on the left are the stairs.
Okay.
So they're handy opposite each other.
Right, fine.
And in there by the stairs also is the coffee machine.
Oh, right, very useful.
Yes,
Right.
the most important thing of all.
Sure, I'll get through a lot of that. So.
You'll meet most of the members of staff there, I should think.
Fine.
And if we keep going down the corridor,
Yeah.
on the right-hand side,
Yeah.
just down here,
Yes,
you can see the conference room.
great.
And as we go around the corner on the right here is the sales department.
Sales, okay.
And as we come around the corner on the left is the purchasing department.
Okay.
And if you can see just down the end of the corridor is our marketing department.
Oh, that's where they are, right,
that's
fine.
Right, next to you actually, in the accounts department, which is just on the right here. And on the left, opposite, is the canteen.
Oh, very important.
It's open at lunchtime and in the afternoon as well, between 3 and 4.
Right.
And if we come in here on the right then, that's your desk over by the window.
Oh, that's marvellous.
Yes, with a lovely view of the park.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
It's better than the view from my office.
Right. Oh, well, that's just one thing. I wondered if you could perhaps tell me where the gents' toilet is while we're about it.
Oh, right, yes, of course. It's at the end of the corridor, just opposite reception.
Right, thank you. I'll see you in a minute.
Right, okay.
And that's the end of 5.1, Step A. (5.3) Company Organisation. Step A2. You'll hear an interview about the way Biopaint is organised.
Today we're talking to Philip Knight about the structure of Biopaints International. Philip's the general manager of the Perth factory. Philip, do you think you could tell us something about the way Biopaint is actually organised?
Yeah, certainly. We employ about 2,000 people in all, in 2 different locations. Most people work here at our headquarters plant, and this is where we have the administrative departments, of course.
Well, perhaps you could say something about the departmental structure.
Yeah, certainly. Well, now, first of all, as you know, we've got 2 factories, one here in Perth, Australia, and the other in Singapore. Lee Boon Eng is the other general manager over there in Singapore.
And you are completely independent of each other, is that right?
Oh, yes. Our 2 plants are fairly independent. I mean, I am responsible to George Harris, the production manager, and we have to cooperate closely with Rosemary Broom, the marketing manager. But otherwise, as far as day-to-day running is concerned, we're pretty much left alone to get on with the job. And I forgot to mention finance. The finance director is Wei Min Tan. She's a very important woman, and her task is to make sure the money side of things is okay. The accountant and such people, they report to her directly.
Is that all?
Oh, no, there's personnel too.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's quite separate. Deirdre Spencer is personnel manager, and the training manager reports to her, of course.
Well, what about research and development? Isn't that a separate department?
Well, in terms of the laboratories, there are 2, one at each production plant. But it's a separate department, and it has a separate head. And that's Dr. Tarsisius Chin.
Are there any other features worth mentioning?
There's the planning department. Chow Fung is in charge of that, and purchasing department, they buy in the materials for production.
Yes, and what about the board of directors and the chairman?
Yes, well, they're at the top, aren't they, of course. I mean, a couple of the executives are directors themselves. The managing director, of course, that's Robert Leaf, and then there's...
And that's the end of 5.3, Step A2. (5.5) Working with others. Step B. You'll hear part of a radio programme about Semco.
Jane, I wonder if you could tell us what Ricardo Semler is trying to do.
Well, sure. Semler wants to introduce real democracy in the workplace. Well, that's the essence of his philosophy. It's the end of the party for Henry Ford's assembly line, he would argue. He gives it at the most 100 years. Well, that means it still has 15 or 20 years to go. It's collapsing slowly. And the giant corporations we knew this century are coming to an end.
Robert, would you like to comment on this?
Yes, I think it needs to be stressed that autocracy is the main problem afflicting all these companies. In countries like America, Britain, and Brazil, people are all very proud of their democratic values in public life, and rightly so. But as Semler himself says, he has yet to see a democratic workplace. We are being held back by a system that doesn't allow democracy into business or into the workplace.
I could just add a related point there concerning bureaucratic structures. Getting rid of 7 layers of management bureaucracy is the real key to Semco's success. This went hand in hand with the introduction of genuine democracy. Managers, including Semler, who is one of 6 councillors who rotate in the job of chief executive, are rated regularly by their employees. Every manager gets points from between 1 to 100 from his staff, anonymously. And this happens every 6 months, when a new budget is set. If managers regularly fail to come up to expectations, they give way, or are pushed out. One long-serving manager who used to score 86 out of 100 has dropped down to only 51, and what will happen to him is uncertain.
But surely this means that the workforce watches the management closely all the time instead of getting on with their work.
Yes, but evaluating the boss was just the first step. The big break came when people were allowed to elect their own boss. In Semler's view, managers imported from outside the company are bad news. Now, staff who are truly involved in the financial success of the factory are realistic about choosing future bosses.
Jane, can this system really work?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you why. You see, the fact that employees are free to come and go as they like, or work from home, or become a consultant, means that they don't take advantage of the situation. They recognize the responsibility that comes with controlling their own futures. And as several reports show, it appears to be a happy place to work, with very low staff turnover and a long waiting list of people applying for jobs there.
Now, as Jane's already said, what has happened is that Simco has got rid of the old pyramid structure of bureaucrats, together with their power symbols. So, secretaries and parking spaces have gone. The organization now consists of 3 concentric circles, an inner one of 6 vice presidents, including Semler, surrounded by a second circle of up to 10 leaders of the business units, and the outer one, which includes everyone else. They're called associates. Just walking around the factory, there's no way of distinguishing the high earners from the low earners because workers wear what they like, and hardly anybody has a desk.
Of course, the major question people have been asking is whether the Semco experiment is transferable. For instance, to other types of company and other countries.
Yes, that is the big question. In some parts of Europe, employees already do participate actively, but in these cases there seems to be a special factor to explain their success. For example, the Mondragon cooperatives in northern Spain, which are closely tied up with the Basque culture, or the benevolent former owners in employee-owned companies in several other countries.
But still, Semco must be taken seriously. A company that can survive more than a decade of Brazil's inflation can't just be ignored. Can it, Robert?
No, it certainly can't. But there is one area, I believe, where this model won't work. Transferring the model to a large corporation like IBM or General Motors doesn't have much hope of success, as long as giving up control means bringing information out in the open. And it is precisely information, or the lack of it, which represents power in such organizations. Or, as their critics would say, those are the reasons they will go to the wall.
At any rate, a few smaller companies have tried to directly copy Semler's example. And if the hundreds of managers who visit Semler's shop floor are any guide, there is a considerable appetite out there for making Western capitalism more civilized. Would you agree, Jane?
That certainly appears to be the case. And yet I suppose the probability of this happening quickly is very small. As the British journalist Victor Keegan puts it, the trouble is that the corporate world is run by people not exactly willing to lose their parking lots, let alone to subject themselves to monthly scrutiny by people whom, currently, they can hire and fire. Corporate managers don't yet look in a hurry to commit mass professional suicide.
That's right, they don't.
And that's the end of 5.5. Unit 6, International Trade. 6.1, Exchanging Information. Step A. You'll hear a customer, Mr. Rusconi, and a supplier, Mr. Garcia, talking on the phone. Here's the first version of their conversation.
Rusconi?
Hello, this is Al Garcia.
At last. When can we expect the next consignment in our warehouse?
Late Thursday or early Friday, depends on the traffic and the weather. When will you accept deliveries?
Up to 4 p.m. and from 7:30 a.m. Whose trucks are delivering the goods?
2 of ours, and the others are on hire from Alpha Transport.
How do you spell Alpha?
A-L-P-H-A.
How many trucks will be coming?
5.
Will they arrive all on the same day?
2 will set off half a day early, so they should arrive Thursday. The other 3 will arrive towards midday Friday. How long will it take to unload each truck?
About an hour. We can't unload more than 2 at a time, you know.
I want to know what happens if one truck arrives late. Can you unload it on Saturday?
I don't know. Our warehouse manager would know.
What's his name?
Mr. Ferrari.
What's his number?
345-9800, extension 71.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Here's the second version of their conversation.
Jupiter Products, Tony Rusconi speaking.
Hello, this is Al Garcia.
Hello, Mr. Garcia. How are you?
Fine, thanks. I'm phoning about our delivery next week.
Ah, yes, good. I was just about to call you. Could you tell me when we can expect the consignment to arrive in our warehouse?
Yes, as far as I know, the trucks should arrive late Thursday or early Friday. It depends on traffic and weather. What time will you accept deliveries?
The latest time we can start unloading is 4 p.m. But we can start as early as 7:30 a.m. Could you tell me whose trucks are delivering the goods?
Yes, certainly. 2 of them will be ours, and the others are on hire from Alpha Transport.
Let me just make a note of that. Can you tell me how you spell Alpha?
Yes, of course. It's A-L-P-H-A.
Fine. And I'd also like to know how many trucks will be coming.
There'll be 5 altogether.
Can you tell me if they will arrive on the same day?
I'm not entirely sure, but as 2 will be setting off half a day early, they should arrive Thursday. The other 3 will arrive towards midday Friday. Could you let me know how long it will take to unload each truck?
Yes, each truck will take about an hour. I think you should know that we can't unload more than 2 trucks at a time.
I see. Well, thanks for letting me know that. I wonder if you can tell me what will happen if one of the trucks arrives later and can't be unloaded on Friday. Do you know if it can be unloaded on Saturday?
I'm afraid I don't know. It might have to wait till Monday. You'd have to ask our warehouse manager about that.
Could you just remind me what his name is again?
Yes, of course. He's Mr. Ferrari.
And can you tell me his number?
Yes, it's 345-9800, extension 71.
Good. Thank you very much. It's nice to talk to you. Goodbye.
Bye now, Mr. Garcia.
And that's the end of 6.1, Step A. Step D. You'll hear various people asking for information, and all of them speak unclearly or quickly.
1.
Good morning. I've got to fly to Rockford on Monday, and I've left my ticket in my room. I think the check-in time is 4:50, and but I'm not entirely sure. Could you check this for me, please?
2. Good morning. I've tried calling Monsieur Geoffrey's room, but there's no answer, so I suppose he's out. I've written a note for him, and I wonder if you could give this to him. It's for Mr. Geoffrey. That's Geoffrey. Geoffrey, okay?
3.
Can you reserve theater tickets for me for the performance on July 2nd? And charge them my credit card. No, wait. I gave you the wrong date. I need 2 tickets for July 3rd, okay?
4.
I've booked a room for the whole of this week in the name of Sanders. The thing is on the 29th, that's the Friday. I'd like to change from a single and have a double instead, if that's possible.
5.
I'm expecting a call from our agent in Greece this morning. If he calls, could you ask him to call me on 23983? I'll be there till about 3. After that, he can get me on 28393 from about 3:30.
6.
Could you possibly tell me if there's a special party rate for delegates at conferences? I know I read this somewhere, but I'm not sure where.
7.
I wanted to speak to Mr. Wilson. He said he'd be back in his room by this afternoon. Now, it's 4:05, I think. Is that right?
8.
I need to get to the airport by 7:30 this evening. I've probably got plenty of time, but as it'll be out in the eastern suburbs, I can't take the airport bus. So how long does it take by cab, would you say?
And that's the end of 6.1, Step D. Six point 6.2. Making inquiries. Step A. You'll hear your boss, Fred North, talking on the phone.
Yeah, we had a really good time up the mountain. Yeah, nice of you to take us up. Nice of you. I know what I wanted to ask you. Have you had any dealings with Arcolite? Uh-huh. Oh, that can't be true. Arcolite batteries? Yeah, but they've been doing real well. Well, if you got this from him, I guess there must be some truth in it. Yeah, we kind of depend on them. They've been supplying us for quite a long time now. No, there are sole suppliers. Well, thanks for the tip. I'll get my new assistants to investigate. Sure. Nice talking to you. Goodbye, Fritz.
And that's the end of 6.2, Step A. Six point 3. Answering inquiries. Step C. You'll hear one of your colleagues on the phone to Japan.
Anti-spy products, good afternoon. Hello, yes. Oh, Mr. Saito. Hi, how are you? Good. Okay, the LR-44, yes, we've had quite a rush on those, and there's been a delay on supplies, I'm afraid. We only have 9 in stock. Oh, sure, eight's no problem at all. I can get them to you by the end of the week. Will you be able to pick them up at Narita as usual? Fine. Okay, that's 8 items of product LR-44. Thanks very much. You're very welcome. Bye now, Mr. Saito.
And that's the end of 6.3, Step C. Unit 7, Money Matters. 7.1, Dealing with Figures. Step C. Listen to this report and fill in the missing information in your book.
LVMH, the French luxury goods group, which owns a string of prestige brand names, ranging from Louis Vuitton luggage to Hennessy cognac, saw net profits rise by 7% to 1.29 billion French francs, $239 million, from 1.21 billion French francs in the first half of the year, in spite of the downturn in the luxury products industry.
The group saw overall group sales in the first 6 months of this year rise by 4.5% to 9.68 billion French francs from 9.26 billion in the same period last year.
Operating income showed a marginal increase to 2.35 billion French francs from 2.34 billion.
Wines and spirits, which have borne the brunt of the economic slowdown, suffered a fall in sales to 4.44 billion French francs from 4.76 billion, while operating profits slipped to 1.26 billion French francs from 1.51 billion.
Luggage and leather products were also affected by Japan's instability, but managed to increase operating profits to 890 million French francs from 827 million on sales up to 2.33 billion French francs from 2.15 billion.
Perfumes and cosmetics benefited from the launch of Dune, a new Christian Dior fragrance, and Amarige under the Givenchy umbrella.
Sales rose to 2.54 billion French francs from 2.05 billion, and operating profits to 330 million French francs from 321 million.
LVMH earlier this week relaunched Miss Dior, one of its classic scents.
And that's the end of 7.1, Step C. 7.4, Letters of Credit. Step B. Listen to this talk and fill in the missing information in your book.
So now, on the subject of letters of credit. Now, you'd be surprised at the kind of mistakes people make when using letter of credit documentation. These errors can often lead to rejection on the first presentation. The research department of our bank found that 25% of the documents were rejected. Yeah, and the main reasons were things like the fact that the letter of credit had expired, or the documents were presented after the period stated by the letter of credit, or, of course, the shipment was late. Now, if you think about it, it's quite amazing, really, but I can't stress enough the need for consistency between the different documents. I mean, for instance, our bank study found out that spelling inconsistencies or mistakes are part of the problem. That is, the description or spelling of goods on invoices was different from that in the letter of credit. Or the weights were different on the export documents. And then the amounts of money value shown on the invoice and the bill of exchange differed too. Even the marks and numbers were found to be different. So, now, another thing we found was that the amount of money mentioned on the letter of credit was smaller than the value of the order, or the shipment was short. Then you might even find that some documents were missing, which were called for in the documentary letter of credit.
And we even had cases where signatures had not been witnessed as required for certain documents presented, or else facsimile signatures were used when they're not allowed. And this is by no means the end of the list, which goes on and on. I won't bore you anymore. So, you see that many of the documents presented along with letters of credit were rejected on their first presentation. And this meant sometimes long delays in payment with all the complications that can involve. And I don't need to tell you that.
And that's the end of 7.4 Step B. Seven 7.5 Chasing Payment. Step A. Listen to this telephone conversation.
Hello, Becker here.
Good morning, Mr. Becker. This is Valentina Santinelli. I'm sorry to ring you like this.
That's all right.
Did you receive our January shipment?
Yes, we did.
When did it arrive?
It arrived on the 25th of January.
Are all the things you ordered included?
Yes, thank you, yes.
Did you get the invoice as well?
Yes. Yes,
And, have you paid the invoice for the last shipment yet?
I'm afraid we haven't managed.
Because I haven't a record of the payment, and our department was just getting a bit worried about it.
Yes, money is very tight at the moment, you see.
Of course.
I'd like to ask for an extension of credit. You see, we have a considerable overdraft, and our overheads have to be thought about.
I see.
A major problem is that our own customers are going through a difficult period too.
Yes, I know how that is.
We have a number of outstanding accounts ourselves, so we know exactly how you feel.
Yes.
We are hoping that our bank will show us some generosity and allow us to overdraw our accounts.
Well, I hope so as well.
And what's more, we have just guaranteed one of our major clients an extra 2 weeks credit, and they've accepted our offer.
Really?
And as if that isn't enough, we have a large crisis on our hands with another customer who owes us a lot of money.
Yes, I think I know what you mean. We have a similar problem.
They've just gone bankrupt.
Oh dear.
Yes, so what do you suggest we do about the money we owe you?
Well, please try and send the check before the end of the month. That's 1 more week. Our accounts department is considering changing the conditions of payment for future orders otherwise.
Oh, yes, we will do our best.
I hope we can continue to cooperate together.
Oh, I hope so too.
And we hope to keep you as a regular customer, despite any troubles you may be having.
Thank you very much for being so understanding. Goodbye.
Bye.
And that's the end of 7.5 Step A. Unit 8, Dealing with Problems. 8.1. What seems to be the problem? Step B. You'll hear 8 short phone calls. Match the number of each call to one of the sentences in your book. The first 2 are examples. 1.
The agreement was that you'd let us have 3 sets of documentation, but we only seem to have been sent 1. Could you do something about this right away, please?
2.
We asked you to send us all the necessary documentation, but we've been invoiced for 3 sets. As far as I can tell, we only need 1 set, and there should be no charge for this, according to your letter.
3.
Hello? Listen, I'm terribly sorry, but I thought I'd be able to make it in good time for our meeting this afternoon. The trouble is, there's been a terrible hold-up on the motorway. I've been sitting in a queue for 2 hours, so I don't think I'll be able to get to you till 1:45. Will you still be available then?
4.
Sorry about this, but there's been a problem with air traffic control, and my flight has been retimed to 1:45. This means that it won't arrive in time for our lunch appointment. I'm terribly sorry about this. Will you still be in the office later in the afternoon, say about 4:45? I know this is very late, but I won't be able to make it till then.
5.
The thing is that there are some scratches on the front panel of 15 of the consignment. Now, I realize this won't affect the operation of the units, but obviously we can't sell them to our customers unless they're in perfect condition. So what we want you to do
is to include an extra 15 in next month's order, and we'll send the faulty ones back to you. Is that agreeable? Oh, and if in the meantime we discover any more with the same fault, we'll let you know, and perhaps we can have our money back on those.
6.
We examined the packages when they were delivered, and they seemed to be in good order. But when we opened the packages, we discovered that 15 out of 20 packages were water-stained on the inside. Some of this water seems to have soaked through the inner packaging, and the contents are wet inside. They've obviously been left out in the rain in transit, and your inner packaging was inadequate. Anyway, I've been asked to tell you that we'll be withholding payment on the entire consignment until you arrange to have the faulty items collected and replaced.
7.
Look, the blessed thing's broken down again. Yes, we have switched it off so that it can cool down. Yes, I suppose it is a quite warm day, but this machine is supposed to be capable of operating 24 hours a day. Now, I want you to get someone out here today to look at it and put things right. Assuming it's not a design fault, there must be something an engineer can do to stop this happening every time the temperature rises over 25 degrees.
8.
Yes, it's happened again. The feed roller mechanism has jammed again. I called the service engineer, but he says we've been using the wrong grade of paper and that we should be using 60 gram. Well, we can't replace our entire stock of 85 gram just to make it work in one machine. Now, I'd like you to know that we want the complete feed and transport mechanism replaced straight away. The last time the engineer serviced it, he informed us that the problem was caused by a faulty circuit board, even though this was obviously not what was wrong with it. Anyway, he replaced it, and we were charged for this. And, by the way, we'd like a refund for this charge, too.
And that's the end of 8.1, Step B. 8.2. We all make mistakes, sometimes. Step B. You'll hear a telephone message that was recorded on your answering machine yesterday.
This is Lucia Donato at Uniflex in La Spezia. We've been expecting your order this month and it hasn't arrived yet. And I must admit that I'm a bit surprised by this, but I'm assuming that you want to repeat last month's quantities. If you want to make any changes, you'd better let me know. We'll be loading tomorrow afternoon, so could you contact me first thing tomorrow, please?
And that's the end of 8.2, Step B. 8.3. Complaining and apologizing. Step A. You'll hear 4 phone calls or conversations. 1.
Good morning. I bought this box of computer paper last week, but it's not the right size. It should be A4.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. It says A4 on the box.
Oh, yes, I know, but here, if you look inside, you'll see. It's a smaller size.
Oh, yeah, so it is. Oh, I'm very sorry. I'll get you another box.
Oh, right, thanks.
I'm very sorry, but we haven't got another box in stock.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. If you like, I'll just call our other branch to see if they have any.
Oh, no, don't bother. I prefer a refund.
Of course. It's $11.95. Here you are.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. Thanks anyway. Bye.
Bye.
2.
I'm sorry to bother you, Mrs. West.
Yes, Mr. Sal?
It may have slipped your mind, but you told me last week that you'd send in the orders to Compass International.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I did send in the order. On Friday afternoon.
Well, the thing is, did you realize there were 2 separate orders? One for Northern Region and another for Eastern Region.
Oh, dear. Geez, I'm sorry. I didn't realize the Eastern Region had to be done, too.
Oh, it really doesn't matter. There's still just time.
Well, I'll phone Compass and explain. Yeah?
No, I think it'd be best to send the order by telex, don't you?
Yeah, all right. I'll do that right away. Sorry again.
Oh, that's all right.
3.
Good morning, Carpenter and Sons. Can I help you?
Hello, this is Heidi Zimmermann of Schreiner International.
Hello, Miss Zimmermann. This is Ted Joyner. What can I do for you?
Well, I think there may have been a misunderstanding about our last order.
Oh, dear. What seems to be the problem?
We've just started unloading the truck, and the quality of the goods doesn't appear to be Class A1, which is what we ordered.
Oh, dear. I'm very sorry. Let me just check this on the computer. Oh, dear, yes. I'm afraid there has been a slip-up in our shipping department. I'm very sorry. It's certainly our fault. What would you like us to do about it?
Well, we can keep the goods and use them for another order of ours if you will charge us 20% less for the load and ship us a load of Class A1 right away.
Well, that sounds fair enough. Let me just check the stock position. Yes. We can ship tomorrow morning, if that's all right.
Oh, yes, that will be fine.
Oh, good. Thank you very much, Miss Zimmermann. I'm very sorry that this happened.
That's quite all right. Goodbye. Four.
Good afternoon. Windsor Products.
May I speak with Tina Castle in marketing, please?
Tina Castle. Certainly. One moment, please.
Tina Castle.
Hello, this is Henry Wong of Aeroprint.
Hi, Mr. Wong. What can I do for you?
It's about the order for your new packaging. I think you may have forgotten to send us the color negatives.
I sent the complete set of negatives by airmail on the 14th. Remember packing them up myself. They should have arrived by now.
Yes, well, we did get a package from you on the 18th. But the problem is that the color negatives were missing.
Are you sure?
Yes, we only got the black and white ones.
Oh, dear. I've just been through my out tray and I found them here. I'm very sorry. It's my fault. I'll send them by courier at once.
No. That's not necessary. My assistant, Mr. Patel, is coming to your office tomorrow, so you can give them to him, and he can bring them back.
Right. I'll make sure he gets them. I'm sorry this happened.
It's perfectly all right, Miss Castle. Goodbye.
And that's the end of 8.3, Step A. 8.4. Friday afternoon, delivery problems. Step A1. You'll hear a telephone message left for you by your production manager, Mr. Robinson.
This is Ted Robinson. It's about these new alloy components. Now, when the components were unpacked and inspected, we found that although most of the parts are okay, the screw adapters don't meet our specifications. Now, the ones that you sent us are GJ501s, and we need JG507s. I'll say that again, JG507s. Now, I've checked your order, and that was correct, and so was the pro forma the supplier sent. So it seems to be the fault of the supplier's export packing department. Now, the problem is, if the right parts don't arrive by next Wednesday, part of the production line will have to stop. And in all, 5,000 screw adapters have to be replaced, of which 500 are needed for next week's production. So, can you do something about this? And let me know what you propose to do. Okay. Goodbye.
And that's the end of 8.4, Step A1. 8.5. Only the best is good enough. Step B. You'll hear an interview with a management consultant.
Sarah Lockhart is the Quality Director of AP Management Consultants. Sarah, how is quality, with a capital Q, different from what's always been known as quality control?
The idea of quality is a concept that is coming to be the driving force of many parts of industry today. The interesting thing is that it can be applied to both the service sector and the manufacturing sector. We can talk about quality of manufacturing and quality of service. Quality is something that affects all the functions of the company and all the staff, from board level down to line managers and employees.
So, how would this be applied to manufacturing?
Well, the key idea here is zero defects. The company should be aiming to produce goods that are perfect, so that customers are entirely satisfied and they don't discover any faults at all after delivery has taken place.
Yes, but surely nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes sometimes.
Well, yes, people make mistakes, but we believe that everybody wants to be perfect, and they want their product to be perfect and to have no defects.
I see.
In the past, it was considered impossible to mass-produce goods to a very high standard, and there would always be rejects, and some faulty goods would inevitably get through to the customer, because carrying out a quality control of every manufactured item would be too expensive and therefore unprofitable. Quality control usually consisted of random checks, operating rather like customs officers in the Green Channel at an airport. Customers came to expect there to be some faults in the goods, and it was just a fact of life in manufacturing. Anything that was wrong could always be put right later by complaining to the supplier and getting him to repair or replace the faulty goods. Well, the quality revolution, if I can call it that, turns these views on their head. There are several reasons for this. First, putting mistakes right. Fixing a faulty machine or collecting it and replacing it are labour-intensive and costly, and it's more cost-effective to eliminate the need for this by producing a perfect product with 0 defects in the first place.
I see.
Second, if your competitors are able to produce goods with 0 defects, then clearly customers will prefer those. So, in order to survive, you have to keep ahead of your competitors. Well, obviously, this applies to services too. Your service has to be so good that there's no dissatisfaction and hence no complaints from clients. Complaints usually mean that there are defects in your product or in your service, and even your accounts department is providing a service to you and your suppliers and customers.
The big problem about all this is the other links in the chain. I mean, you're dependent on the quality of materials supplied to you as a manufacturer that you'll then transform in your factory. How does this fit in?
Yes, I agree. This is one of the problems. You normally don't have a direct control over your supplier's processes, but you can change suppliers in order to obtain the materials of the highest quality. This will normally mean paying more, but the extra cost can be easily justified if your own production quality improves. If, however, you're obtaining poor quality materials from a single source, you may have to start looking for alternative suppliers, or impose your own quality control on all incoming supplies before you accept them.
All right. Suppose a company wants to introduce quality as part of its business philosophy. How easy is it to set about doing this?
First of all, you have to sell the concept to everyone in the company. At board level, to senior management, to line managers, and to the employees. Everyone has to believe in quality for it to succeed. It won't work if you have a group of people somewhere in the company who are working against you. That may mean production staff who are careless, or office staff who don't provide a good service to customers, and to other members of their own company. New staff can be trained relatively easily, but established staff tend to be much harder to persuade about new ideas. The major arguments we use in our seminars are to do with taking a pride in your work. Well, you know, everyone likes to feel they're doing a good job.
Right.
And we say, if your competitors are successfully doing this, can you afford not to? If we can't sell our service or product, we'll lose business and people will lose jobs.
Sarah, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And that's the end of 8.5, Step B. Unit 9, Visitors and Travellers. 9.1. Did you have a good journey? Step B. You'll hear a conversation in which a visitor is being met at the airport.
Hello, are you Mr. Brown?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Sandra Ellis, sorry.
Hi, Sandra.
Welcome to Manchester.
Well, I'm sorry I'm so late. You see, there was a fog at Amsterdam and we were
dear.
delayed there. I hope you haven't been waiting too long.
No, it's okay. I was able to catch up on some of my notes.
Ah, good.
Well, it's a great pleasure to meet you, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to meeting you too, Sandra.
How was your flight?
Well, not too bad, thanks.
Good. Well, I think the best thing is we'll go to your hotel first,
Okay,
if that's
yeah.
okay. And my car's just outside.
Terrific.
Can I take one of your bags?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, here you are, Sandra.
Right, now, is there anything you'd like to do before we set off?
Well, I'd just like to make a quick phone call, if that's all
Yeah,
right.
sure. Look, there's some phone booths over there. Would you like to have a drink or something to eat before we go into town, or...?
Well, maybe just a coffee, if we got time.
And that's the end of 9.1, Step B. (9.2) Hotels and accommodation. Step A. You'll hear Miss Müller phoning the Hotel Concord on behalf of Mr. Meyer.
Hotel Concorde.
Good morning. My name is Vera Müller. I'd like to book some accommodation for tomorrow for 5 nights.
April 1st to 5th. Just one moment, madam. We are rather full at the moment because of the trade fair. What kind of rooms would you like?
I'd like 3 single rooms, all on the same floor.
I have 3 double rooms, but not 3 singles available, sorry.
What's the difference in price?
Single rooms are 400 francs, doubles are 700 francs.
I see. What kind of rooms are the double rooms?
Very nice rooms, madam. I can give you 3 doubles on the 6th floor, overlooking the city. They have balconies and bathrooms.
Now, one of the guests is in a wheelchair. Are these rooms accessible by wheelchair?
No, madam. The lift goes to the 5th floor only. In this case, you could have 3 rooms on the ground floor. 1 single and 2 doubles. No view of the city, but close to the garden.
And do you have a small conference room I can reserve for April the 3rd, all day?
Yes, we have a nice quiet room that will take about 12 people. Would that be suitable?
Yes, that will be fine. And are the public rooms all accessible without having to go up or down steps?
Yes, madam. The restaurant is on the 1st floor. There's a lift. Otherwise, everything, including the conference room, is on the ground floor.
All right, fine. Then I'd like to book the 3 rooms on the ground floor for Acme International. The guests' names are Mr. H. Meyer, Miss A. Schwartz, and Mr. D. Negri.
Thank you. So, that's 3 rooms on the ground floor, arriving on April 1st and departing on April 6th. And the conference room all day on April 3rd.
Right.
Okay. Can I have your telephone number, please?
Yes, it's 41, that's Switzerland, 22348923. And I'm Vera Müller.
Fine. Thank you, Miss Müller. Goodbye.
Goodbye. It's okay, Mr. Meyer. I've booked the rooms in Toulouse.
Great. Thanks, Vera.
And that's the end of 9.2, Step A. 9.3, Local Knowledge. You're the expert. Step A. You'll hear 3 conversations in which people are being given directions.
Can you tell me how to get to the restaurant for the meal tonight?
Well, it's a bit complicated. I'll better show you on the map. It'll take about 20 minutes on foot.
Oh, that's okay. I've got enough time. And it's a lovely evening.
Right then. Now, let's see. Well, first of all, you go to the right as you leave this building, okay? And then you turn left when you get to the town hall.
Right.
Then you keep straight on and you just cross the river. You'll see the railway station on your right. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you continue along that road for about 3 blocks till you come to a church. And opposite the church, there's a big square.
Right.
Now, the restaurant is down a little back street on the other side of the square. It's called the Black Bear.
Yeah.
It's just there on the map.
Oh, I see. Yes.
You see?
Yeah, that's fine. No problem. Thanks very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Enjoy your evening.
Thanks.
Now, can you tell me how to get to the restaurant where the lunch is being held?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, you can take a taxi, or you can take the tram. That's the best idea.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. It's the number 89, which says Zoo on the front.
89 Zoo.
Zoo. Right, you'll need to get a ticket from the machine before you get on. Right, now, at the 5th stop, you get off, cross the road, walk on for about 100 metres.
Okay.
Now, the restaurant is on the left, and you can't miss it because it's called the Black Eagle.
Black Eagle. Okay, fine. Thanks very much.
That's all right. Not at all. Enjoy your lunch.
Thanks.
Can you tell me how to get to the restaurant where we're meeting tomorrow?
Certainly. When you come out of the car park, turn left, okay?
Left, right, fine.
Drive straight on until you see the blue signs that say City. Now follow these signs as far as the lake, and then turn right and drive along the lake for about 5 kilometres.
Yeah.
Now, the restaurant is on the right, just after the first village. You can't miss it. It's called the White Swan.
Oh, fine. Okay, I'll see you there tomorrow at about 11 then.
At 11, fine.
And that's the end of 9.3, Step A. 9.4. Eating, socializing, and telling stories. Step A1. You'll hear two people looking at the menu in your book.
That was delicious.
Would you like a dessert?
Yes, please. Can you, help me with the menu?
Yes, certainly. These are starters. And these are main courses, and these are desserts, see?
Ah, yes. Can you tell me what Boston Indian pudding is?
Yes, it's a specialty of this region. It's a sort of dark cake which contains dried fruit soaked in tea.
Tea?
It's hot, and you have it with ice cream. Very nice.
I see. And, what's hot fudge sundae?
Well, that's something rather special. It's a kind of ice cream with a hot, sticky sauce over the top. Very sweet and fattening.
I really like the sound of that. What about zabaglione?
Ah, well, that's difficult to explain. It's a bit like a warm mousse. It's made of egg yolks, sugar, and marsala wine. It's an Italian specialty.
That sounds very nice. I'll have that, please.
Are you ready to order your desserts?
Yes, John?
I'd like to have the zabaglione and a large black coffee, please.
Just an iced tea for me, please.
And that's the end of 9.4, Step A1. Step C. You'll hear two people talking about travel experiences.
Anyway, I felt pretty upset, I can tell you.
Well, something even worse happened to some friends of a colleague of mine in New York. The husband was on an extended business trip, and the idea was that his wife would come over in the middle of it to spend a long weekend with him. He was flying in from Boston, and the wife from Europe, and they were going to meet up on the Friday evening and stay the weekend together at one of those very big hotels near Central Park.
Yeah.
Well, the hotel computer had got the first letter of their name wrong. Their name began with a B. I think it was Berry, but it was spelt on the computer with a P. So the wife arrived at the hotel, gave her name and asked, "Has my husband arrived yet?" And the reception clerk looked her up on the computer and said, "No, not yet." And so she said she'd wait in their room, and she was shown to the room. So she turned on the TV and, started waiting. Well then, about half an hour later, the husband arrived and gave his name and spelt it out very carefully to the reception clerk and asked, "Has my wife arrived yet?" And she looked up the name on the computer and said, "No, not yet." So he said he'd wait in the room, and the clerk promised to send his wife up to him when she arrived. And he was shown up to a different room, so he turned on the TV and started waiting.
No.
Well, they both waited for a couple of hours, and then the wife called reception, was told her husband still hadn't arrived, so she went down to the restaurant and had a meal, and then, being tired, she went to bed. Well, the husband was now quite hungry, so after calling reception and being told his wife still hadn't arrived, he went down to have his dinner, and then went to bed. Well, the next day, they narrowly missed each other at breakfast, so they decided there was no point in sitting around waiting. So they both went out shopping or sightseeing, missed each other again that evening, and didn't finally meet up again till the next afternoon. And by this time, the husband had to fly off to Washington for a meeting first thing on Monday.
Oh, that's amazing. It's always strange in a new city.
Yeah.
I remember once I was going to a conference in Norway. I landed at Oslo Airport, and as I didn't know the city, I picked up a whole lot of leaflets and a street map at the airport before catching the bus into town. Well, one of the leaflets was quite fat, about 100 pages long, and it was called Where to Eat in Oslo. So I started looking at it to find a nice restaurant to go to that evening. I always prefer to eat out rather than in my hotel.
Yeah.
And I soon realized that the same restaurant was being described again. I looked all the way through the leaflet, and every page was a description of the same restaurant. There were no others in there. 100 pages, all about the same restaurant.
What was the name of the restaurant?
I can't remember.
Oh, that reminds me. A colleague of mine was in Sweden. He was at the end of a tough series of meetings in Stockholm and about to fly back home to London. Well, he checked his suitcase in and went through to the departure lounge, had a drink and caught his plane back to Heathrow. Unfortunately, the check-in clerk had put the wrong label on his case, and it had the tag for a different flight on it.
So he went to London and his luggage went somewhere else.
No. Worse than that. They did a security check on all the luggage that was being loaded onto the other flight and found that there was no passenger name of that manifesto to match the particular suitcase. So they very carefully took the case off to the far corner of the airport, and security police blew it up. Oh. Luckily, it only contained dirty clothes and a toothbrush and stuff like that, and he got fully compensated by the airline.
Oh. I remember my boss telling me about something that happened a few years ago. There was a long delay at the airport, which apparently was quite common then, and then there came an announcement over the loudspeaker. "We are sorry, but the plane is sick. We will find a new one." So, they all settled down for a long wait, feeling reassured that they weren't having to fly in a faulty plane.
Yeah.
2 hours later, there was another announcement. "We have found a new plane, but the new plane is more sick than the first one, so we will take the first one." And they were all escorted to the first plane, and it took off, but they all felt very nervous, and everyone started knocking back the gin and the whiskey. Anyway, eventually they arrived at their destination, and by this time everyone had managed to forget that the plane was sick. But instead of landing, the plane kept circling round and round and round. Everyone started to get worried again. And then, a man in uniform came out of the little door leading to the flight deck with a screwdriver. He walked halfway down the aisle, stopped and lifted up the carpet. Then he raised a metal flap and reached inside with the screwdriver. There was a loud click, and then they heard the landing gear going down. The man in uniform went back to the flight deck. The plane made its final approach and landed safely. As they all came down the steps, he said you could literally see everyone still shaking with fear.
And that's the end of 9.4, Step C. 9.5. Organising a conference. March the 30th. You'll hear a recorded message from Madeline Tennant, one of the 4 speakers.
This is Madeline Tennant. I'm calling about the conference in May. I'd like to have my expenses paid in cash in dollars, not by check in your currency. I haven't had time to book a flight yet, so I don't know how much the tickets will cost. But I'll let you know the amount when I arrive for the conference.
And that's the end of 9.5. New International Business English by Leo Jones and Richard Alexander. Students' book recordings. Published by Cambridge University Press. This recording is copyright. Cassette 3. Side 1. Unit 10. Marketing. 10.2. Advertisements and commercials. Step A. You'll hear a discussion of one of the advertisements in your book.
What do you think of this advertisement?
I quite like it.
Yes, so do I. It makes the product seem sort of likeable, doesn't it?
Well, it's an advertisement for 3 products, really. Hotel and restaurant guides, guidebooks of places to see, and maps.
I like the way the nice pale colours catch your attention. And the smiling Michelin man looking straight at you. It makes you want to step into the countryside, even though it's only a drawing. It has a nostalgic, old-fashioned look. And that makes you interested in reading the text.
That's right, yes. And when you read the text, you find the selling points of each of the 3 products. Makes them all seem very desirable.
The message is, make sure it's a Michelin. Which means next time you're thinking of buying a map or a guidebook, you should think of Michelin products.
What kind of people is this message directed at, do you think?
Well, I suppose motorists and tourists. People who stay in hotels or eat in restaurants.
Yes. And what seems to be the unique selling proposition of the products, according to the ad?
Well, it's actually different for each product. The red guides list more hotels and restaurants than their competitors.
Yes.
The green guides use a star system to rate places of interest, and the maps are updated every year, unlike their competitors, we're supposed to think.
Yes, but it also says that the 3 products are cross-referenced,
which means they can be used together easily. They're a sort of package. I'd say that was the USP.
Yeah. Yes, you're right.
And that's the end of 10.2, Step A. 10.3, Promoting Products and Brands. Step B. You'll hear part of a lecture about brand names.
Now, on the subject of brand names, English names are often used in foreign countries to make products sound more international. But this doesn't always work. Take, for example, portable radios. There's the Party Centre, the Concert Boy, the Party Boy, and the Yacht Boy. These are all marketed in the UK under those names, but they do sound a bit silly to British ears, don't they? Many foreign brand names just don't sound quite right in Britain. Here are a few examples of brand names which would have to be changed if they wanted to sell the products on the British market. Pocari Sweat, that's a drink for sports people. And cow piss, shit and sick. These are drinks which sound quite disgusting in English. Bum, that's a brand of bubblegum. There's Mother, a brand of biscuits. Bimbo, and that's a brand of bread. Another strange name is Häagen-Dazs ice cream. This brand name was invented in the USA. It's supposed to have a European quality sound and look, but it doesn't actually mean anything in any language. Still, it's the most popular luxury brand in Britain, despite the fact that no one can spell it correctly. And not all British brands sound right in other countries. There are two Irish whiskey liqueurs you can buy in the UK, Irish Cream and Irish Mist. The latter wouldn't sell in Germany, where the word mist means manure. And how about the Nissan cars, Cedric and Gloria? Those English first names sound so unglamorous that neither of them could be sold in the UK under those brand names. But having said that, a good product can succeed, even if the name does sound a tiny bit strange. Look at Japanese cars. You've got the Nissan Bluebird, the Daihatsu Applause, the Honda Accord, the Toyota Carina, all very successful in the UK. By the way, I've always been puzzled by how many Japanese cars have an R or L in their name. There's the Toyota Previa, the Nissan Micra, the Toyota Corolla, the Nissan Primera. Most Japanese cars I can think of have an R or an L in their name, even though many Japanese people pronounce the sounds R and L the same. An exception is the four-wheel drive Mitsubishi Shogun, as it's called in the UK. But in most countries, it's called a Pajero, except in Spanish-speaking countries, where that word is very rude. Indeed. There, the same car is the Ranchero. Many international car names have been invented specially. They don't mean anything in any language, but they're just supposed to sound attractive. Most of the brands I've already mentioned are invented words. And some more examples of these on sale in the UK are the Ford Mondeo, the Toyota Celica, and the Citroën Xantia. But sometimes they may have to change the brand name to make it acceptable in different countries. In Europe, General Motors cars are marketed under the Opel brand name. In Britain, these cars are Vauxhalls, a name that most Europeans find very hard to pronounce. But there's a definite trend to create European brands. The Opel Kadett used to be called the Astra in the UK. Now it's the Astra all over Europe. And here in Britain, the Vauxhall Nova has taken on the European brand name Corsa. In Spanish and Italian, Nova means it doesn't go, which wouldn't have been a suitable name for a reliable small car. And in the USA, they have a car called the Rabbit, a sort of light-hearted, amusing image, hasn't it? That's what we call the VW Golf, because consumers here seem to prefer a more serious, sporty image. A fashionable product like computer software has to have a marketable and a memorable brand name. And as more products are developed, increasingly meaningless new names have to be invented, which nobody else has thought of before. Computer software products on sale in the UK often have brand names consisting of two words without a space between them. So instead of being called PageMaker, the product is called PageMaker with a capital M in the middle. Then there's WordPerfect with a capital P in the middle, and Quark Express,
with capital X and capital P in the middle. But Microsoft Word is 2 words, and there are no capitals in the middle anyway. Now, having said all that, what I'd like you to do is to think of some foreign brand names that you think are unsuitable for the market in your country. Get together with a colleague, and you've got 3 minutes to make notes. Okay?
And that's the end of 10.3, Step B. 10.4. Possibility, probability and certainty. Step A.
You'll hear Mrs. Frost finding out from her staff about a sales campaign in Canada. Notice how certain each member of staff is about each of the points she raises. I'll explain how the first is done for you as an example.
First of all, what about the sales literature we said we'd sent to Toronto? Alan?
I'm not altogether sure whether the literature's been sent yet.
So Alan wasn't sure. According to him, it was possible.
Betty? The literature must have been sent on Friday afternoon.
Betty was sure. According to her, it was certain.
Christian?
I very much doubt if the literature was sent at all.
Christian was doubtful. According to him, it was unlikely.
Diana?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was all sent on Friday without Christian noticing.
Eric?
It couldn't possibly have been sent. We didn't get it from the printers till Thursday.
And Diana thought it was likely, and Eric thought it was impossible. Now do the same yourself. Ready?
Now, how about our new sales drive in Canada? Is it going to succeed? Alan, what do you think?
Well, in my opinion, it probably isn't going to go well.
Betty?
Oh, I'm absolutely certain it'll work.
Christian?
It couldn't possibly succeed. We haven't done enough field work.
Diana?
There's a chance it'll succeed. It may or it may not. Hard to tell, really.
Eric?
I don't really know. It's not really my area.
Now, about the new product range, will it make a big impact on the Canadian market? Alan?
I'm quite sure it will. We've got a really exciting new product here.
Betty?
It may well have a big impact, but only if we manage to get enough repeat customers.
Christian?
I doubt if it'll make that big an impact. Last year's figures suggest that Canada is becoming very slow sales-wise.
Diana?
It can't possibly have much impact, not after last year's consumer tests.
Eric?
Well, I'm not so sure. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it made quite a big impact.
Were the sales forecasts for Canada encouraging? Alan?
Well, they must have been encouraging. That's why CJ's so keen on Canada this season.
Betty?
Well, I had a quick look, and it seemed to me that they couldn't possibly have been encouraging.
Christian?
They may have been encouraging.
Diana?
It's quite possible they were encouraging. CJ didn't let me see them, though.
Eric?
I expect they were encouraging. CJ can't have made a mistake, can he, Mrs. Frost?
No. He couldn't possibly have made a mistake. I just wanted your views, that's all. Thanks, everyone.
That's all right, Mrs. Frost.
And that's the end of 10.4, Step A. Step B. You'll hear some phrases you can use when talking about how possible, probable, or certain you are about something.
I'm sure that these sales figures are accurate.
The figures must be accurate.
There's no doubt that the figures were carefully checked.
The figures must have been thoroughly checked, so I'm absolutely sure that they're accurate.
Our sales in the USA are likely to go up next year.
I expect that our sales in Canada will go down.
I wouldn't be surprised if our sales in Mexico went up.
It's quite possible that our sales in Peru will go up.
Our sales in Argentina may well remain static.
There's a chance that we'll manage to break into the UK market.
It's just possible that your forecast is over-optimistic.
I'm not sure if the figures I've noted down are accurate.
There may have been some kind of mistake.
Well, Singapore probably isn't a very profitable market for us.
I don't think that we'll be able to sell in Japan.
Thailand is unlikely to be a good market for our product.
I doubt if we'll be able to make any sales in Korea.
I'm quite sure that it isn't worth appointing an agent in Zambia.
Sales in Tanzania can't have been worse than they are now.
Uganda definitely isn't a good market for our product.
Oh, these figures couldn't possibly be accurate.
And that's the end of 10.4, Step B. Step C. You'll hear some business people predicting what they think might happen in the next 20 years or so.
What do you think might happen in the business world in the next 20 years or so?
I think robots will replace production workers. There'll be less need for transport, as people will work from home.
Well, business travel will be replaced by live video meetings. There won't be any need to go to see the client anymore.
Well, in a few years' time, we'll all have video phones instead of ordinary phones. Everyone will be able to see the person they're calling.
Well, there won't be any people in offices. Well, there'll just be computers doing all the work.
Jobs will change so quickly that we'll have to retrain for new job skills every few years.
Offices won't use paper anymore. All communications will be electronic. Even letters and faxes will just be sent from screen to screen.
I don't know, there'd be much higher unemployment. I mean, half the working population may be out of work.
And that's the end of 10.4, Step C. Unit 11. Meetings. 11.1. Taking part in a meeting. Step B1. You'll hear the beginning of a meeting.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock, everybody, so I think we'll make a start. Now, the first item on the agenda is a discussion of the management's proposals on flexi time. Now, you've all discussed the proposals within your departments, haven't you?
Yeah.
Good. Miss Garcia, would you like to start then?
Okay. Well, most of my people are perfectly happy with the present non-flexible system. They think a change would be dangerous.
I'm sorry. I'm not quite with you. Dangerous?
Well, they feel more flexible hours would make it difficult to cover for each other. We all have quite clearly defined responsibilities. Some people would benefit more than others.
It seems to me that your people can just agree together to go on working from 9 to 5. They don't have to work later.
Yes, but the problem is that if one or two people opt for the new system, the others will have to cover for them when they're not there.
Mr. Bergman, what are your views on this?
Well, the thing is
I'm really
that,
sorry to interrupt, but I'd just like to say that any department can vote to opt out. They can just vote on it and the majority wins.
Thank you, Mrs. Baldini. Ms. Legrand, yes.
Could I make a suggestion? Wouldn't it be best to hear what each member has to say about the proposals from the point of view of his or her department?
Yes, all right. Ms. Legrand, what are your views?
Well, the main problem is the decision about basic core times.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
I'm talking about core times. That's the basic hours that would not be flexible. It's been suggested that these be 10 to 3, but this seems much too restricted. Don't you agree, Carla?
Absolutely. In fact, I'd say that there should be flexible days.
Sorry, I'm not quite with you.
Well, the staff should be allowed to build up a credit of hours to entitle them to take whole days off, not just fewer hours on other days.
Mr. Rossini, what do you think about this?
Yes, I'd go along with that. As for cover, in my own case, it's no problem. There are 3 of us in the export department and we work as a team. So it's easy for us to cover for each other as long as there are still 2 of us in the office.
Mr. Brown?
Yes, Mr. Bergman?
If I could just make a point here. In our case, we do a lot of dealing on the phone with the States and sending messages to and fro by fax in the afternoon. Now, if we had anyone off then, we wouldn't be able to manage. That means our core times would have to be 1 to 5. Maybe each department should set its own core times.
Yeah, Mrs. Baldini.
That's all very well, Alex, but then no one in any other department would know who was in at what time. I mean, there'd be chaos. There has to be a standard for all departments.
Yes, Mr. Rossini?
Yes. Coming back to the flexible days idea, this just wouldn't work. People phoning the company or visiting would get terribly confused.
No, that's not true, Enzo. I mean, when people take holiday or when people are sick, cover arrangements are made. Well, with flexible days, exactly the same kind of arrangements would be made.
Well, any other points?
No.
Covered it all.
Have you got all this down, Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Then I think we'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
And that's the end of 11.1, Step B1. 11.2, One-to-one meetings. Step A. You'll hear the beginning of a one-to-one business meeting. Pam Ross has called to see Paul Fisher in his office.
Good morning, Miss Ross. Do come in.
Hello, Mr. Fisher. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Face to face instead of on the phone, what? How are you?
Fine, thanks. Very well.
Oh, do sit down. Would you like some coffee?
Oh, yes, please. Black.
Mm-hmm. Here you are.
Thanks. Well, how's it all going?
Oh, not too bad. We're just about to open a branch in New Zealand.
Oh, will you be going there in your travels?
I'm hoping to, if I can justify it to the marketing director. How's your little boy? Has he started school yet?
Oh, yes, he's in the second year now.
What, already? Doesn't time fly? Is he enjoying it?
Very much. It's much more fun than being at home.
Ah, well, I suppose we'd better make a start. Shall we get down to business?
Right. First of all, can I confirm the time and date of the presentation? It's Saturday the 24th of October in the morning. What time exactly?
Well, on the invitations we've sent out, we've said that the presentation itself will start at 11 and go on till 12:30.
So you'll need the room from about 10 till 2. Would you like us to serve coffee beforehand?
Yes, and drinks and snacks at the end.
Better to have buffet lunch?
No, people who are invited won't be expecting a free lunch. They might think that's overdoing it. They'll want to get back to their families as it's Saturday.
All right. The normal pre-lunch snack buffet will be what you need. That's basically the same as what you had last February.
Oh, that'll be fine.
OK, well, we'll charge for the room, coffee and snack buffet at the standard rate, less 15% as we agreed. And we'll charge for the drinks served on a pro rata basis.
Fine, yes.
What type of equipment, furniture would you like?
Well, let's have 5 tables for our display. We'll bring our own stands.
Right.
Now, there's an overhead projector and sound system already in the room, I believe. Now, can you get someone to check that, before we come, so that it's working?
Oh, of course, the technician will be with you when you're setting everything up.
Oh, well.
Oh, the seats in that room have flap-over desktops. Will that be all right?
Yes, that's true. Fine, sure.
You say you've sent out the invitations. Any idea how many people there'll be? I think you know the capacity for the room is about 50, but 40 is ideal.
Yes. The problem is that we won't know exactly how many there'll be until shortly before.
Can you let me know definitely by the Thursday?
No. But I'll have a rough idea, and we'll budget for the number I give you then. We've sent out 100 invitations.
100?
Yes. Well, in theory, that means that there could be 200 people.
Yes, but the room...
Of course. I don't expect more than about 30 to come.
But what if they do? This is the only room we have that day. There's a wedding reception in the banqueting room, so we...
Well, in that case, I suppose we could put in another 40.
And that's the end of 11.2, Step A. 11.3, Different kinds of meetings. Step A. You will hear part of a one-to-one meeting between two managers, Kate Thomas and David Williams.
David, thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
OK, I've sketched out a rough agenda here.
Fine, yes. Yes, that looks as if it covers everything, and I agree that we've simply got to sort out a procedure for preventing this kind of thing happening again. We do need some guidelines.
Well, I think the basic problem is one of communication. None of the things that went wrong are really any single person's fault.
Right, now let's talk about Jail's report on the trip to Germany. As you know, Jail's self-employed, isn't a member of our staff, but he was travelling on our behalf, and we were supposed to make all the arrangements.
Well, the first problem is about finance. He didn't ask us to give him an advance.
I know, yeah.
And then he complained later that he'd had to pay his expenses out of his own pocket.
Well, if he was supposed to pay for himself and then claim expenses later, the arrangement should have been explained to him.
Well, we agreed that anyone who travels on our behalf, for whom we're making the arrangements, should receive an advance.
I wonder, should they have a company credit card as our own salespeople do?
I don't think that's necessary. Well, travellers' cheques and some local currency and cash can easily be arranged. They can pick them up from a local bank. Because, remember, some of these people live out in the country.
Yes. Well, now, how much should they get as an advance?
Well, we need to estimate how much they'll need, and I'd say, I don't know, £100 for emergencies?
Well, I'd say 200 would be more realistic.
OK, well, whatever we
Where's
estimate,
the 100
plus, £200 in travellers' cheques. And we'll be responsible for booking and paying for the air tickets, yes?
Yes. Now, right, the next problem. No one met him at the airport. He had to make his own way to the hotel.
Well, he wasn't expecting to be met. It's easy enough to get from the airport to the centre of Frankfurt.
And the local rep was just as much in the dark? She hadn't been told his hotel address?
Well, when he did finally meet up with a local rep, everything went smoothly, I gather.
Well, that's fine, yeah, but he had to phone me and get me to phone them in Germany. He wasn't given a contact number in Frankfurt, only the address and the time of the presentation. I mean, he needed photocopies made. Luckily, he speaks the language.
Well, he could have done all this without all this panic. Why didn't he just find somewhere to make the copies and then turn up at the arranged time? I don't understand.
Well, he needed 300 copies. And quite rightly, he knew that would be expensive. He claimed that he couldn't find the room where the presentation was being held. He had the address, but it wasn't easy to find. And he says he needed directions.
Maybe. But look, if he'd met up with the local rep, she could have done the copies at her office and then taken them to the venue. I just don't think we need to draw up town plans.
Anyway, how can we prevent this kind of thing happening again? That's the point.
Well, what we should do is to make sure everyone involved has a copy of the itinerary.
Yes, I agree.
And the names and addresses and phone numbers of various contacts en route must be copied to everyone involved, too.
Yes, there's one point I'd like to make here. It's about initials and first names. And now, I don't think it's clear to some people in the firm that although they know who DJP and DLP are, this isn't at all obvious to an outsider or a new employee.
That's true.
Similarly, there are several Davids working for us. Everyone needs to know whether David means David Peterson or David Potts or David Adams. You know, that's, that needs to be made clear.
Yes, I agree with that. Okay, full names should be used, right?
Right. Now then, shall we move on to, heavens, Effie's problems in Japan?
Well, he did get an advance, but instead of getting travellers' checks, the accounts department sent him a cheque 2 days before he was due to travel. He had to go off and buy the currency then.
Right, so we must make sure that the advance arrives sometime before the date of travel. 10 days seem okay.
Yeah, that seems fine.
So, in Japan he was met all right at the airport, but the hotel he was taken to was somehow unsatisfactory. The room, what does it say here? The room was too small, overheated.
Oh, well, that's just bad luck. There's nothing we can do about that. Personally, I think he was just being fussy. But, I don't know, maybe we can issue some guidelines about accommodation, something along these lines. We won't pay for the very best hotel in town, but the one we do book should be good and central.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
That's very important. Because it wouldn't normally be the Hilton or the Holiday Inn, would it?
Well, it could be in some places. It depends. And if you're in a very hot or dangerous place, you need to be in a very comfortable, air-conditioned, international-style hotel.
All right. Well, how many stars?
Oh, well, that's hard to say. I mean, the standards vary so much from country to country. I don't think we can define the standard in a realistic way.
Okay. Now, you'd agree about the need for the accommodation to be central?
Yes, I would, and preferably near the railway station. And it should be good enough for them to feel comfortable and secure. Swimming pool and sauna not essential.
We haven't talked about the other problem that JL had. Apparently, his flight back had the wrong date on
that's right.
on the 24th.
Yes.
He didn't notice this till the 25th, the day he was due to fly. Well, luckily, the flight wasn't full, and they accepted the ticket with no extra charge.
Well, I mean, he should have checked the ticket, so that's really his own fault.
But this needs to be made clear. I don't know, maybe a covering note when we send the tickets saying, please check that the times and dates of these flights are correct. I don't know.
Yes, simple. Very, very good idea. We'll do that. And someone in your department has double-checked this. Do we need to make it clear that the flights would normally be economy class by the cheapest route? Effie seems to have the idea that he should have flown club class.
Well, actually, normally we would book club class on a long-haul flight. I think we should make this clear in the guidelines, too.
Well, I didn't even know that.
Right. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. But let's meet again when we've circulated a report on this meeting and we've got some feedback.
Okay. Can you just switch off the tape recorder?
Sure. Press this one, do I? Like this?
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the end of 11.3 Step A. (11.4) We need to have a meeting. Step A. You'll hear some business people talking about things that can go wrong at meetings.
Sometimes the participants aren't sure what the purpose of the meeting is.
People always start to argue, and then they get angry with each other.
What often happens is that the chairperson dominates the group.
Yes, and the chairperson rushes through the agenda so that the meeting can finish on time.
Lots of meetings I go to have no written agenda.
Well, for a start, there are too many items on the agenda. We can't possibly cover everything.
Well, often some members are late and then the meeting doesn't start until everyone's arrived, so we just have to sit there waiting until they come.
Look, the meeting finishes late because too much time's allowed for discussion.
Yes, but not all the items on the agenda are dealt with.
Well, you see, the chairperson encourages everyone to speak when they want to, and proposals aren't made through the chair.
The chairperson doesn't control the discussion and everyone talks at once.
Because the chairperson asks the more senior people to speak first, the more junior ones are afraid to give their ideas.
No one is asked to take notes and keep the minutes of the meeting.
And that's the end of 11.4, Step A. Unit 12, Processes and Operations. 12.1, How does it work? Step C. Listen to this conversation.
So, how does a photocopier work?
Well, basically, they work on the principle of electrical charges.
Yeah?
Modern photocopiers make use of static electricity. No ink is involved, as it used to be.
Well, how do the marks get onto the paper?
Well, if you open up the inside of the photocopier, underneath where you lay the sheet of paper you want copying, you'll see a lot of things going on.
Well, what actually happens when you press the start button?
Well, there's a drum, which is specially coated with a material which conducts electricity when light shines on it. This drum turns around. First, it's given a negative static electric charge. That's very important.
What does the light do?
Well, you see, at the same time as the drum is being charged, your original, which you've laid face down over the glass top, is exposed a little at a time to a light which moves over the document.
Yeah.
Now, this image is projected onto the drum as it revolves, and the electrostatic charge destroys the light.
Right. But, you said that the image, or printed material, that it no longer comes from ink as it used to, so, how do the marks get onto the paper?
Yeah, well, before that can happen, toner powder, which is negatively charged, is dusted or brushed onto the drum, and it is attracted to the charged parts of the drum. That is, the toner sticks to those parts. And those are the marks on the document. That is, the parts that have kept their static electric charge.
Right, yeah.
And well, after that comes the transfer stage. The sheet of copy paper is positively charged, and in this way it attracts the toner.
And is that when it actually comes out of the photocopier?
That's right.
But why is the paper hot when it comes out of the machine?
Well...
And that's the end of 12.1, Step C. 12.2. What do I have to do? Step A. You'll hear 3 conversations. Here's the first.
OK, Bob, so first of all, you make sure that there's paper.
Yep.
Yes, around there. And then you put the document down, or face down, right? And then you indicate in the digital display here how many copies you want. So that's, 2? We want 2.
Right.
And then you press the button.
Easy as that.
Yeah.
Here's the second conversation.
Okay, so you've got your document, okay, it's 2 pages. So the first page, okay, you turn face up.
Yeah.
And you feed it into the slot here, and it takes it in automatically.
Oh, right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And then you dial the number that you want. And,
What, here?
Just there, yeah.
Yes.
And you press the green button.
Right.
Okay, and it dials the number automatically.
Yeah.
And it connects with the fax at the other end. And then it automatically sends the first page. It just feeds through. Like
Oh,
this
right.
thing.
Yes.
And then when the first page is finished, there's a beep, and it's simple. You just feed in the second page.
Straight
in
away
the same
after the
way.
other one?
That's right. That's right.
Right.
And then at the end, there's another beep, which you ignore, and wait for the line to disconnect, and then you see the display there says fax done, and that's it.
Oh, right. Oh, I think I can manage that.
Here's the third conversation.
Okay, so you want me to set the alarm for tomorrow morning?
Show me how to do it, yeah.
Okay, I'll show you. First we press mode.
Yeah.
That's what it's set at now, 6:07.
No.
Too early.
Too early.
Right, I press this button. Now, 7:07?
No, 7:30.
7:30. Okay, so I press the other button. 8, 9, 10.
Sort of like the video.
It is a bit, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Just have to keep on pressing that button until we get to 28. 29, 30. Okay. Now I press mode again, but the numbers are still flashing,
Right.
so press mode again.
Right.
That's 2:19 now. And then I press that, and the alarm is set,
And it
we'll
comes
go
on.
off
All right.
tomorrow morning at 7:30.
Excellent.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
And that's the end of 12.2 Step A. 12.3 A production process. Step B. Listen to this talk about how chocolate is made. In the case of all Cadbury's chocolate products, the basic ingredients are, of course, cocoa beans. We buy our cocoa beans from Ghana and some from Malaysia. 50,000 tons of cocoa beans are processed each year at the factory, but that's before the actual chocolate making process can be started. When they arrive at the cocoa factory, the cocoa beans are sorted and cleaned, and then they're roasted in revolving drums at a temperature of about 135 degrees. The actual time for roasting depends on whether the use at the end is for cocoa or chocolate. Now, after that, the next processes are called kibbling and winnowing. Well, first, in the kibbling stage, the beans are broken down into small pieces, and at the same time, the shells are blown away by air currents. The technical term for that process is winnowing. And so, then, you've got the broken pieces of cocoa beans, and those are known as nibs. Okay? Well, now in the next stage, the nibs are taken and ground in mills until the friction and the heat of milling reduces them to a thick chocolate-coloured liquid. The result of the grinding stage is known as mass. Now this contains 55 to 58% cocoa butter, and of course that solidifies as it cools, and it's the basis of all chocolate and cocoa products. Cocoa powder is made by extracting about half the cocoa butter through pressing in heavy presses, and that cocoa butter is later added back in the chocolate making process. Right then, now after the mass has been produced, we come to the actual chocolate making process itself. I'm going to tell you about the production of milk chocolate. Well, at the milk factory, the mass, the cocoa mass, is mixed with liquid full cream milk and sugar, which has already been evaporated to a very thick liquid. The resulting chocolatey creamy liquid is then dried. At that stage it's called chocolate crumb. Then that's taken to our factories at Bourneville and Somerdale in Bristol. There, the crumb is mixed with the additional cocoa butter and special chocolate flavourings, and this is then turned into a kind of paste, and it's ground again and pulverised further. The chocolate, which has had sugar and cocoa butter added to the mass before grinding and pulverising, now undergoes the final special production stages. Now the most important component of chocolate, as far as the texture is concerned, is the addition of fats. The final processes of conching and then tempering are essential in the process. They control the texture and viscosity of the chocolate before it can be used in the manufacturing process. You with me so far? Good. Now, conching involves mixing and beating the semi-liquid mixture to develop flavour and reduce the viscosity and the size of the particles. Well, basically what this means is that it stops it becoming too sticky and enables it to be manipulated. And then comes the tempering. This is the last stage, and it's crucial. What it means is mixing and cooling the liquid chocolate under very carefully controlled conditions to produce chocolate in which the fat has set in its most stable crystalline form. It's the tempering of the chocolate that gives it the famous Cadbury smoothness and gloss and the snap. Without this last process, the chocolate would be very soft and gritty, and there'd be large crystals inside it, and it would have a very dull grey appearance. Well then, there we are. That's how milk chocolate is made. And that's the end of 12.3 Step B. 13, Jobs and Careers. 13.3, Interviews. Step B. You'll hear extracts from 2 interviews. Here's the first.
Good morning, Miss
Jones.
Miss
Good
Jones.
morning.
Right, yes, hi. Now, you'd like to join our team, I gather? And
Yes, I would.
That's very good. I'd like to know a little bit about you. Perhaps you could tell me, perhaps we could start, if you could tell me a bit about your education.
Oh, yes, right. Well, I left school at 18, and for the first 2 years, I went to Gibson's. You might know them. They're an engineering firm.
Ah, yes, right.
And after that, I wanted to do a course, so I did a 1 year, a full-time PA course. I went back to Gibson's.
Yes.
I was PA to the export director.
Yes.
I stayed there for another 2 years, and then I moved on to my present company. That's Europa Marketing. Mr. Adair, the marketing director, offered me a job because Gibson's had worked quite a lot with Europa Marketing.
Oh, yes, Europe, yes,
And
yes,
I've been with them for 3 years now, first with the marketing director, and now I'm with the sales director.
That's all very interesting, Miss Jones. I'd like to know, what did you enjoy most at school? What was the course that you enjoyed most?
Foreign languages I like best.
Foreign
We did,
languages?
French and German. Yes.
And are you quite fluent in those now? Or?
Yes, a bit rusty now, but obviously the more travel I can do, the more I can use my languages. And I'd
Right.
like to learn another language. I'd like to add Italian as well.
Italian?
Yes.
Very good, very good. That might be very useful. Now, tell me a little bit about the work you're doing at present.
Well, Europa Marketing is a marketing and public relations company,
Yes,
and
I've
they
heard
do
of them, yes.
they do consultancy work for companies operating in the UK and European markets. Our clients come from all over the world. We deal with some of them by post, but most of them come to our offices, and at least once during a project. I assist the sales director by arranging these visits, setting up meetings and presentations, and I deal with all her correspondence. I've not been able to go with her on any of her trips abroad, but I've been to firms in this country several times on my own to make these arrangements.
It sounds as if you're very happy there, Miss Jones. I'm curious why you'd like to leave them and join our company.
Well, I know the reputation of Anglo-European, and it has a very good reputation, and I feel that I would have more scope and opportunity in your company, and the work would be more challenging for me. I might be able to possibly travel and use my languages, because at the moment most of my work is rather routine secretarial type work, and I like the idea of more challenges in my life, really.
Very good.
And here's the second interview.
Yes, well, your CV seems pretty well up to scratch. Now, I wonder, can you tell me more about yourself?
Well,
Yes?
I think I'm serious, serious-minded, calm.
You're calm?
I like a joke. Well, yes, I like a joke, though, good sense of humour. I don't panic in a crisis. And I enjoy working with all kinds of people. I even like people who are, you know, bad-tempered or something like that, you know.
Yes, but where do you see yourself in, let's say, 5 years' time?
Well, sort of a long-range thing. Well, I see myself in the public relations, and, well, one day, I must admit, I would rather like to open up my own consultancy in my own hometown.
What is it specifically about Anglo-European PR that attracted you?
Well, first of all, I want to leave my present employers because they're a small company, and, I know about Anglo-European PR. I mean, they're a good company, larger. I think I'll have more scope. The work will be more challenging. I mean, quite a lot of what I do at present is quite boring. It's routine secretarial work.
And you'd like to move on?
Yes, if I could, you know, hopefully to a job that gives me more opportunity, so I can use my initiative. Can I just ask you this question? Excuse me. I'd like to know, if I get this job with Anglo-European, would I be able to work abroad in one of your overseas branches?
Yes, certainly.
Oh, good.
Our staff regularly do 6-month placements in other branches.
Oh, well, that's good.
I'm
That's
sure
what
you
I'm
might-
interested in.
Can I know we're all human beings here, and I'd like to know what you consider your strengths and your weaknesses.
Strengths and weaknesses. Well, I mentioned before, I think my sense of humour and my ability to work with all types of people is a particular strength.
Yes.
My weakness, I don't know. I suppose I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I'm quite often dissatisfied with what I've done. I always think I can do it, you know, better or in a different way.
I wouldn't call that a weakness. I'd call that a strength.
Well, that's good. Well, I mean, apart from that, I suppose I get a little bit sort of full of the wanderlust, and that's why I want to travel. I'm easily bored with repetition and procedure.
Do you have a lack of commitment?
No, not at all.
No.
No. Once my goals are set and I've got the right sort of initiative, then I'm as committed as anybody.
Not one of these people who wanders off?
No, not at all.
Now, is there anything else you'd like to ask me?
Yes, if I can just get down to the nitty-gritty. Would the salary be reviewed at the end of the year?
Yes, the salary would be reviewed every 6 months. And after 6 months, you'd also be eligible to share in the company's bonus scheme.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's good.
Right. Well, time is pressing on, I'm afraid.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So thank you very much for coming to see me. And we'll be in touch with you before the end of the week.
Good. Well, thank you for seeing me.
Goodbye.
Bye.
And that's the end of 13.3, Step B. Step D. You'll hear some difficult questions that might be asked in an interview. 1.
Tell me about yourself.
2.
What do you think are your strengths and weaknesses?
3.
We have a lot of applicants for this job. Why should we appoint you?
4.
Which is more important to you, status or money?
5.
How long do you think you'd stay with us if you were appointed?
6.
Why do you want to leave your present job?
7.
What would you like to be doing 10 years from now?
8.
What are you most proud of having done recently?
9.
What is your worst fault and what is your best quality?
10.
Don't you think you're a little young for this job?
11.
What are your long-range goals?
12.
What excites you about the job you're doing now?
13.
How would you rate your present boss?
And that's the end of 13.3, Step D. Unit 14, Sales and Negotiation. 14.2, The Sales Process. You'll hear part of a workshop for people who are starting up their own businesses and who have little or no experience of selling.
All right then, everybody. If we look at a typical sales interview where you meet a client or where a salesperson visits you to sell you something, we see that there are 3 stages. The opening stage, the building stage, and the closing stage. And we should add to these stages other activities that will take place when you're not actually meeting or talking to a client. Preparation and planning. So, let's look at these stages one by one. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to interrupt. Now, the first stage, 1, is the opening stage. Usually this is a phone call, but you might be preceding it with a letter or a brochure or something like that.
Yes.
The first thing you have to do is get past the secretary. That's the most important. Find out when exactly you can talk to your prospect. Don't accept a promise to ring you back, ever. And you need to explain who you are and what you're selling, and arrange an appointment, all right? And 2 is what we call the building stage, in other words, the sales interview itself. It's important to prepare well and rehearse doing this sales interview, okay? And you can role-play it with a friend or a relation. And now this person should try to be unfriendly and uncooperative and difficult to give you the right sort of practice,
in real
okay?
life.
Then, dress suitably for the occasion, okay? Think about that. Behave in a friendly, confident, but business-like manner, right? And remember not to spend too long on social conversation. It makes people impatient before getting down to business. And remember that your client's a busy person, so respect that. Try and show the client that you're a responsible, trustworthy person, which of course you are. Tell the client about all the other well-known firms who use your product. And let the client know the benefits of the product. But Be careful that you don't do all the talking. Ask him questions and make sure they're open questions, not ones he can just answer with a yes or no. To find out what his needs are, so that you can match your product to those needs, and to find out how large and how frequent an order he may place. That's important. You should talk only about half the time. Make sure of that.
What about objections? I always find it the hardest thing to deal with when a client starts giving you reasons why he doesn't need to buy your product. How do you deal with objections?
Well, objections suggest an interest in the product. The client may be looking for arguments to use to justify to his superiors or his colleagues for buying your product. And if you can answer these objections, you're well on the way to making a sale. But the important thing is to prepare answers to all foreseeable objections.
Right, yeah.
And give your prepared answer, or if you don't have an answer, tell the client about a further benefit. I think the important thing is not to spend too long trying to answer an objection. It gives it too much importance. And remember, don't argue with the client. And finally, you get to stage 3, the closing stage. Recognizing that your client wants to buy and is on the point of confirming that order. Now, this is the hardest part because it depends on timing. You have to judge when your client is ready to place that order. Then you can thank him for the order and go on to your next appointment. Now, there's one more thing. Once you have a promise of the order, if it's a new client, do remember to check their financial status. And sometimes, even if it's an old client, don't start work until you have a written confirmation of the order. That's very important.
And that's the end of 14.2. .3 Selling your product. Step A. Listen to this sales demonstration.
Well, the best thing to do is take a look at this print here. You see, you get an amazing feeling of depth and realism. And, well, I mean, it's as if you're really there, isn't it? You don't need any special glasses, anything like that.
It's very impressive. What's the price, and what sort of discount are you offering?
The cost to the end user would be under £100, and we're obviously offering the usual trade discount.
I see. Well, I might be prepared to take, 10 on a sale or return basis for each branch. That's 50 altogether.
Problem. I'm afraid can't let you have the goods on sale or return because, well, the demand's going to be very heavy.
Well, the problem is, you see, it does look a bit complicated for the beginner to use.
Oh, no, not at all. No, look, if I could just show you. You see, you just look through the viewfinder here, press the button, and the automatic exposure and focusing system takes care of the rest.
Do you have any point-of-sale advertising material?
Yes, we have this show card and a nice colourful poster.
Oh, yes, that's very good. I like that, yeah.
And we're running a national advertising campaign, so end users will be fully aware of the product. And there'll be this double-page spread in the Sunday Colour magazines next month. You see, it answers all the questions people may want to ask about the product.
I see. Well, now, presumably the camera needs a special film.
No, it uses normal 35mm colour print film. The films are processed by us in our computer-controlled laboratory. The 4 images from the 4 lenses here, they're printed onto a special micro-lens material to form one single image. And we're running a special introductory offer. End users' first 3 films are processed free.
Yeah, that's good. Well, look, I'd like to know what'll happen if the product doesn't take off and you stop manufacturing it. Will the laboratory still operate? Will my customers be left with a piece of equipment that they can't use?
No, there's absolutely no danger of that whatsoever. This product is going to be a big success. The reviews in the trade press have been fantastic. Take a look at this one, for instance.
And that's the end of 14.3, Step A. 14.4 Negotiating on the phone. Step A. Listen to this phone conversation.
Let us talk about the yogurt deliveries for the Central European market and the North European market.
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah. For the North European market, I can deliver the yogurt very quickly.
The North European area is not going to be a problem. I have approval. But I need to know about the Central European area.
Yes?
I am sure we can do a good job.
Yeah, But you will have to give me some idea about amounts or quantities, because that way it is easier to get it through our organization, you know. They need sometimes time. But if they know something about quantity, they will be more interested.
Well, I can't say exactly. They depend on price and quality.
Oh, yes, of course.
If you like, I'll send you a fax and I shall be very open.
Yes.
I can put in writing to you that, say in quantity terms, that we can take 2,000 depending on the price and quality. And then, if you come back to me by fax, I can tell you in my fax what I think. And I can tell you if your quality is not good and your prices are not competitive, then that'll be the end of our business.
Sure, of course, I understand. But if the quantity is interesting, I'm sure that our organization...
In that case...
Mrs. Eigelberger, I'm sure we can be flexible because we need and want figures or quantities.
Aye, that is, we are not talking less than 1,000 tons.
Good.
I'm ready to say even a minimum of 1,000 tons.
Yes, good.
But what if the matter is pushed through quickly? Will everything be okay?
Yes, of course.
Perhaps things will move too fast for you, and then maybe we'll find that the prices you are quoting us are much too high and the quality is not good, and then...
And then you will have to tell us.
Yes, then maybe we will stop the order, I tell you, because of that.
Yes, I see.
And so can't you let us have 1,000 tons now?
That might not be easy because...
You don't want to do it.
It depends, you see.
Okay, then. We'll give you time to decide. How long do you need?
And that's the end of 14.4, Step A. 14.5. Getting it right in negotiations. Step A1. Listen to this phone call. You'll only be able to hear one side of the conversation clearly.
Good morning, buying department.
Hello, can I speak to Bob Callaghan?
Speaking. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Fine. It's about those new components.
You mean the X-77s? The ones from Coyote Enterprises?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Why? Are there any problems with them?
There's a big problem with the quality of the wiring.
Yeah, but we tested all the samples, and my assistant told me there were no problems at all with the wiring. And the price is very good, Michelle. No, it may be Coyote's quality control that's at fault. Is it just the wiring that's faulty?
No, there have been problems with the switches too.
No, not the switches. What, is there a safety problem or something?
The assembly people are having to eject 20% of them.
Wait a minute, did you say 20%?
Yes.
Well, if you're rejecting that many, then there's no cost saving in getting the components from Coyote. And if any of the switches don't work properly, then, well, we'll be getting some customer complaints.
But we already have. There's obviously a design fault.
A design fault in the switches? But if there is a design fault, I'm Jeff, you know Jeff in assembly, well, he would have told me. So are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, no. All right, I'll look into it. Is there anything else?
Well, the paint matching isn't quite right.
Well, if the paint doesn't match, that's not so serious. We can deal with that. But with everything else... Well, okay, I'll get onto this right away. I'll get my assistant to look into it, and I'll get back to you, well, I'm not sure, but as soon as I can. Is that all right?
As soon as you can, Bob.
Okay, Michelle. Listen, I'm really sorry about all this. I'll clear it up.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
And that's the end of 14.5, Step A1. Step A2. Now listen to this conversation.
Bob, it's Mr. Wiley of Coyote Enterprises. Are you free?
Mr. Wiley?
Yes, you know, the sales rep from Coyote Enterprises.
Right, yeah. Wheel him in. He's picked just the right day to call. Ah, well, Mr. Wiley, it's nice to see you again. Come on in, sit down.
Mr. Callaghan, how are you?
I'm fine.
Great.
Well, now, about these components we've been getting from you.
What, the X-77s?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, they've been extremely popular. Good value, too, I think you'll agree.
Have you had any problems with reliability?
No, not at all. Why?
Well, you see, our salespeople have been getting all sorts of complaints. First, about the wiring.
Well, I mean, that's very strange, because as far as I know, the X-77s are completely reliable.
Well, that's not the information we've got. Now, where is the wiring manufactured?
Well, I mean, now we do all the wiring in our own factory, but, well, let's see, because you got some of the first batch, didn't you?
First batch, yeah.
Which I believe were manufactured by one of our subcontractors.
Ah, well, that's very interesting. So who was responsible for quality control? Was it their people? Was it yours?
Well, I'm not sure about that. Normally, of course, we'd be responsible, but in this case... Well,
And that's the end of 14.5, Step A2. Step C. Listen to this conversation.
Well, I can say, Marianne, I can let you have orders for at least 150 tons, depending on the price and quality. Like I said last time, I told you, as we mentioned at the last meeting, if your quality is no good and your prices are not competitive, that's the end of our deal.
But of course, Fritz, I understand, naturally. Now, if we know how much you are putting in an order for, I mean, what are you saying? What sort of quantity are we talking about?
I can safely say my clients, that is one large client, needs by next month, at first, 80 to 100 tons of lavender.
Oh, that's all right. We are flexible, and we can do that.
In that case, Marianne...
And if the quantity is interesting, I am sure that we can do business. But Fritz, I must stress, we do require firm figures or quantities. I mean, especially if you want a discount, Fritz.
Well, I'm not talking less than 100 tons.
Ah, that's good. We'll give you a good price on that.
If we order immediately 200 in total, then can I expect a discount?
If the order is made, yes. That is not going to be a problem.
One more thing. The condition of the produce must be perfect. A1 quality. Otherwise we can't do business.
Of course, naturally. But you know, we only deliver perfect A1 condition. We do have a good reputation, you know.
But if we find that the prices you're quoting us are much too high and the quality is not good, Marianne,
Then you must tell us, Fritz.
But we are trusting you, Marianne. We have done business with your organization before.
I think you will see our lavender is guaranteed A1.
If there's a guarantee, then we are prepared to take 200 tons.
Okay, that's good, Fritz. We can give you a 5% discount then on the total.
But last time we received 7%. Why so little now, Marianne?
Ah, well, I'm sorry, but that was on a larger quantity, you see, and this is just 200 tons.
Look, I'll sign for 250 tons, and you give me 6% discount. What do you say, Marianne?
Okay, agreed. We'll do that, Fritz.
And that's the end of 14.5, Step C. .6. Negotiating an international deal. Step A. You'll hear 7 short extracts from international negotiations. 1.
Because I believe that we can do a better job.
Well, yes.
And we have the skilled workforce to assemble the components.
Yes.
If the specifications are cleared up at your end.
Yes. We feel sure
that we can do a good job for you. That's most gratifying.
2.
I can let you have half the merchandise.
No way, I tell you.
Look, we can come to some sort of agreement,
Not
surely.
if you can't get the quantities.
We have bought enough.
I'm telling you, I don't see it.
Look, I'm sure that there's...
My boss won't buy it.
3.
Shall we say 500 cartons?
Well, I think,
Well, we can let you have 1,000 cartons.
Well, if they're, if they're, if they're, obviously,
well,
if they're...
Can you name the required date of delivery?
Well, of course, if I knew, well...
So, that's 1,000 cartons on the 15th of February?
Well... Maybe, if... Could I perhaps, if I could just
4.
But I don't get it.
Look, if you can't buy quantities, they're not interested. These people aren't interested. I mean, if you're only going to order 300 or 400 pieces for 500, they're not interested, especially the factories we deal with. They are the biggest factories in the country. They need quantities. That's why we're important to them, you know. We gave them almost $2 million worth of business right on the spot. That's what they're interested in.
5.
Well, we are certainly thinking about it.
The only thing I know is that whatever quantities you place and whatever delivery dates we give you, you can be sure you'll get it on that date. So think about it. You've got to be more definite.
6.
So how will you do it?
Eh? Oh, yeah. Okay. As a first stage, I'd like to introduce the idea to our head office and well, you know, so that I don't know. Well, is it possible to market it or produce it locally, so that well, at the first stage, I'd like to have some samples, and I'll deliver them to our head office, and then well.
7.
We'd like to sell in your country.
Uh-huh.
Or to manufacture it in your country.
Hmm.
Well, either way, whichever is best.
Hmm.
Maybe manufacture it here for 6 months.
Hmm.
Maybe we could send you some samples.
Uh-huh.
And that's the end of 14.6, Step A. Unit 15, a special project. March, choosing the location and the personnel. Step 3 for the UK team. You'll hear 2 reports, one about Telford New Town and the other about Wigan.
Hello, I'm here inside the shopping centre at Telford. I was expecting this town to be a bit of a concrete jungle, like some of the other new towns I've visited. But the mixture of housing, good roads, parks, and clean modern industry make this really a very pleasant place. Right here, next to the indoor shopping centre, is the town park. And just up the road is some of the best scenery in England, and unspoilt countryside just outside the town boundary. Also nearby is the world's first iron bridge, built in 1779, and a symbol of the Industrial Revolution that started in the area in 1709. Telford has the biggest concentration of Japanese companies in the United Kingdom. Epson Telford, they invested £15 million in a new plant manufacturing computer printers. NEC, they've invested over £50 million in a plant manufacturing computer monitors and printers, mobile telephones and fax machines. They employ around 750 people here. Hitachi Maxell have their European headquarters here and make video cassettes and floppy disks. And Ricoh manufactures photocopiers for sale throughout Europe. Also here are Taitung from Taiwan, with 400 workers making TVs. Although Telford's quite a good place for sports and leisure, Telford even has its own dry ski slope. It's not too good for entertainments and cultural activities. You have to go to Birmingham, 30 miles away, for that kind of thing. But the shops here are good, and this shopping mall I'm in now is quite impressive. As you know, Telford has its own motorway, the M54, connecting it to the M6. But although it has a brand new central station, connections to London are not very regular or quick. Birmingham Airport and the National Exhibition Centre are 40 minutes away, if there aren't any hold-ups on the motorway. I'm sitting outside the Orwell pub at Wigan Pier on the Leeds and Liverpool Canal, having a drink. This is the place George Orwell wrote about during the Great Depression in the 30s, and to me, Wigan still had a bad image of being a run-down coal mining town. This is the first time I've been here, and I must say that I'm quite impressed. It's very clean, and it has a great atmosphere. You get the feeling that the people are proud of their history and are keen to make a visitor feel welcome. Lancashire people are famous for their warmth and hospitality. Wigan itself is a down-to-earth, no-nonsense sort of town. Many of the houses are Victorian and beginning to show their age, but there's been a lot of urban renewal, with modern houses outside the town and good sports facilities. It's not very far to the Lancashire coast and the Pennine Hills, so it's quite easy to get away from the town by car and enjoy some fresh air and scenery. The shops are a nice mixture of the old and the new, too. You're also midway between Liverpool and Manchester, which both have fine theatres and symphony orchestras. The main line from London to Glasgow passes through Wigan, and you can be in London in just under 3 hours. Manchester Airport is just 40 minutes away, with connections to all parts of Europe, and even to Singapore and North America.
And that's the end of step 3 for the UK team. Step 3 for the US team. You'll hear 2 reports, one about Binghamton and the other about Trenton.
I'm here now in Binghamton in upstate New York. I'm sitting in Ely Park overlooking the city. This is a charming little city. It's safe and pretty, though maybe it's a little dull. The people are kind of slow and hospitable, and it's hard to believe that you're just a couple of hours from downtown Manhattan, and that practically every city from Chicago in the west to Boston in the east, and from Washington in the south to Toronto and Montreal in the north can be reached by overnight truck. In spite of the first impression you get of being in the heart of the country, there's plenty of high-tech industry here in town. There's a new IBM plant, and Singer Link make their famous flight simulators right here. Here, too, there are plenty of people without special technical skills. One of the largest employers in the area is Fisher-Price Toys, whose workforce is largely semi-skilled. One thing that strikes me about the people hereabouts is that they are dependable and loyal, and they're not afraid of hard work. Indeed, many of them come from farming communities where even the children have to work. One of the big attractions of the area is the beautiful scenery. The forests in the fall are glorious, and in winter, the main skiing resorts of the eastern United States are just an hour's drive away. There's some lovely lakes, too. People are moving out of New York City to get away from commuting and urban crime and to get closer to nature. I'm sitting beside the Delaware River in Trenton, New Jersey. I've just been finding out about the huge range of industry here in the state, which is the size of Wales, but has about the same population as Sweden. New Jersey is one of the most popular states for foreign companies to establish their headquarters. BASF, Mercedes-Benz, Volvo, Volkswagen, Toyota, Nissan, Fiat, all have their U.S. headquarters here. Big foreign companies with factories here are Okidata and Sharp from Japan, and Samsung and Daewoo from Korea. New Jersey is the #1 state in the union for pharmaceuticals, with Hoffman-La Roche, CB Geigy, Johnson & Johnson, and Merck. Throughout the state each year, $4 billion being spent on research in academic and industrial R&D labs, including Bell Laboratories, ITT, AT&T, RCA. The people are very proud that 11 Nobel Prize winners live in New Jersey. Here in Trenton, I've been looking at the amazing DHC, District Heating and Cooling System, operating in our premises. Heating and cooling costs will be low because surplus heat generated by electric power stations is turned into steam, hot water, and even cooled water for distribution by pipes to homes and industrial premises. And New Jersey calls itself the Garden State. And it's true that once you get beyond the urban areas of Newark and Jersey City, the countryside begins. One great plus is the ocean.
New Jersey has 127 miles of coast. And with the huge air network of Newark International Airport close, it's easy to get anywhere in North America and anywhere in the world on a direct flight. From here, it's just a short drive to Philadelphia or New York City. Trenton itself is a pleasant city, though parts of it are a bit run down. The people here are good workers, and there's a long industrial tradition in the state. It's a nice place and not too large. It's quite a lively sort of place, and there's a highly varied mixture of different races and nationalities.
And that's the end of step 3 for the US